be seated. Members, I'll allow the Secretary to read the following order.
Debate on Vote 3, Provincial Treasury, Western Cape Appropriation Bill.
I see the Honourable Minister.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, Premier Online and my Cabinet colleagues, members of this House, officials of our Provincial Treasury and our government, residents of the Western Cape. Deputy Speaker, today I table before you the budget of the Provincial Treasury, amounting to 1.14 billion rand over 3 years, of which 359.75 million rand will be allocated for the 2025 financial year, the smallest departmental vote of the Western Cape government. Our budget consists of 4 main units: administration, sustainable resource management, asset management, and financial governance. But if you allow me, Deputy Speaker, I would like to speak more transversely about our work that the Provincial Treasury will embark upon this year. Since 2019, the Provincial Treasury has concentrated on enhancing governance for the attainment of tangible results, and efforts were geared towards establishing itself as a foundation for effective service delivery. The next phase of our journey is becoming an enabler and reliable partner, actively collaborating with the key coordinating ministries, the Department of the Premier and the Department of Local Government, to support our government and municipalities with a coordinated approach towards service delivery. Deputy Speaker, as the saying goes, if we want to go fast, we must go alone. But if we want to go far, we must go together. That is what the innovation cluster is about. It is about teamwork. And as one of the innovation cluster departments, it is our job to support and enable departments and municipalities so that together we can deliver growth and jobs for our residents. In order to achieve this, I would like to ask this House today, invest in our province by investing in our treasury.
Yes.
I would like to start off, Deputy Speaker, with culture and our people. Deputy Speaker, due to the nature of our work, the treasurers of our government in this particular vote is our biggest strength. And this is why our biggest budget item in this vote is compensation of employees. We will see an increase of compensation of employees of 42.6 million rand to 240.5 million rand in 2025-26. This is mainly to make provision for the impact of the cost of living adjustments, but also for filling of critical vacant posts. This also makes up the bulk of the 53.5 million rand increase you will observe within our vote for this year. To put this into context, Deputy Speaker, COE will comprise 67% of our total 3-year departmental allocation for the vote. But filling vacant critical posts will not be enough, as the department competes with salaries in municipalities and with the private sector. We must therefore prioritize capacity building, innovation, and well-being to foster a motivated and high-performing team. So, how are we going to achieve this? Deputy Speaker, at the end of the day, most people want the same things in life. We want a roof over our head, dignified work, access to electricity and water, quality healthcare and education, and we want to be home for dinner. And in order to support our team to live lives they value, to be in time for that soccer game, to attend the ballet recital, to be fully focused on being the best braai master that they can be, we must make some changes. Key components will include targeted professional development, youth development through internships and bursary programs, an integrated approach to talent acquisition to attract external talent, strategies to prioritize work-life rhythm, technological integration, and creating a culture that values lifelong learning and adaptability. We are going to become obsessed with filling critical vacancies, as this will be the first step. Our next step will be to use technology to alleviate the Treasurer's workloads so that they can focus on the important strategic matters in our society that requires nuance and context. Let AI deal with the admin. Let us deal with the vision and the strategy. Deputy Speaker, while we won't be able to achieve this overnight, by working as a team, we can get our treasurers home for dinner. Deputy Speaker, if you believe you have what it takes to be a treasurer for the Western Cape government, know that we will allocate 7.5 million rand for our external bursary program over 3 years to attract talent to our treasury. Further to the work of our supporting and interlinked financial systems unit, we will upgrade our legacy systems and work towards a fully integrated financial management platform. At the heart of our evergreen legacy system strategy will be our provincial treasury data warehouse, which will consolidate data for improving reporting capabilities and support evidence-based decision-making, driving economic and financial growth. In order to thus get our officials in the treasury, in our departments, and even at times in our municipalities home for dinner, we will allocate 39.3 million rand over 3 years towards upgrading and enhancing our evergreen legacy systems, including support towards our e-procurement system and procurement planning automation toolkit, supporting application transformation readiness, which will include funding to implement our supply chain management reform and support and enhance our provincial treasury data center. Deputy Speaker, as you know, we are heavily reliant on the national equitable share and conditional grants. And given the fiscal constraints that we are in as a country, the Western Cape government will explore new revenue sources, enhance our current revenue sources, and explore alternative and blended financing models, particularly for infrastructure projects. We can do this because we have a positive balance sheet, quality financial statements, clean audits, and strong checks and balances. Deputy Speaker, we are a province you can invest in. In order to explore alternative and blended financing models, we will establish an alternative and blended finance policy framework. To implement this work, we will allocate 4.9 million rand in the current financial year to establish a panel of experts to evaluate infrastructure project proposals and allocate 3.5 million rand over the MTEF to appoint dedicated capacity to explore alternative revenue sources for the province. We will further collaborate with the National Treasury and the World Bank to establish a blended finance risk sharing platform, or a credit guarantee vehicle as it's called, which aims to mobilize private capital by de-risking critical projects in the energy, transport and water sectors before expanding to areas within our social sector. To further enhance our revenue sources, we will work with the National Treasury to make use of the budget facility for infrastructure and technical assistance from Infrastructure South Africa for the provincial departments and municipalities. We will leverage the amended public-private partnership regulations from the National Treasury to accelerate infrastructure delivery and attract private investment. And Deputy Speaker, our pledging guideline for departments already went out last Friday with a step-by-step guideline for how departments can utilize pledging and how exactly it works. And we will work with the Department of Economic Development and Tourism to undertake research on the impact of international tourism and the possible related international tourism tax revenues, as Minister Meyer last week indicated to this House. Deputy Speaker, it is important that the Treasury's work is based on data and evidence. It is also important for residents to know how government spends the people's money and what we base our decisions on. It is about trust. For this, we require credible data and evidence. We will thus continue to innovate through our Provincial Economic Review and Outlook, the PERO, the Municipal Economic Review and Outlook, the MERO, and budget documents. But Deputy Speaker, the Provincial Treasury recently added a new publication, having launched our first of its kind local government budget review publication, a transparent and data-driven snapshot of the financial health of all 30 municipalities in the province for the 2023-24 financial year based on pre-audited outcomes. This publication focuses on revenue collection, on infrastructure investment, and the efficient use of grants and subsidies. We hope to continue building on this work in the coming year and will allocate 7.3 million rand towards innovation in our research publications. To foster trust and to ensure that we are responsible in the way we spend the people's money, we will further allocate 3.08 million rand for expenditure reviews over the next 3 years. We continuously conduct expenditure reviews and will continue to find ways to become more efficient and more innovative, making the people's money stretch a little bit further. Deputy Speaker, it is important that we make it easy to do business with government. Therefore, over and above the funding we're allocating to enhance technology linked to our procurement systems and reforming our supply chain management, we will allocate 600,000 rand towards a smart procurement conference this year so that we can make it easier for you to do business with government. We will further continue to publish and enhance our public procurement disclosure reports, which we publish on a quarterly and annual basis. But Deputy Speaker, the current National Public Procurement Act is an obstacle for residents of the Western Cape doing business with government, with its proposed centralization and stripping away of provincial powers, threatening provincial procurement systems and having the potential to skyrocket our costs. We will therefore launch a constitutional challenge, Deputy Speaker, against the Public Procurement Act because we believe no one should ever be excluded from participating in our provincial economy. Deputy Speaker, the principle of fairness is important, and I would like to highlight some of our budget items related to our Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board and gambling and racing taxes. This is the second biggest budget item you would have observed in the Treasury vote, with an increase of 25.4 million rand over 3 years to increase capacity for the board. You will also see it under the name transfers. It is important to note that the last time capacity for the board increased was about 15 years ago. And over that same period, the board has tripled the gambling and racing taxes it has collected for the province. With the increase of online sports betting, it is thus important to ensure that our board is capacitated to collect these taxes for the provincial fiscus. We are forecasting that the board will collect more than 3 billion rand in taxes for the provincial fiscus over the next 3 years. It is therefore an investment for the future of our fiscus. It is further important that our board members are fit and proper to serve on the board, and to ensure that we adhere to legislative prescripts. We will allocate 120,000 rand per annum for probity assessments as part of the fiscal policy unit in Provincial Treasury, so that anyone who applies to serve is vetted accordingly. Our fiscal policy unit, in supporting this principle of fair taxation, we will allocate 2 million rand in research within the gambling sector to ensure that economic development is balanced with the potential socio-economic impact for our residents. Finally, we will lobby the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition and the National Parliament to expedite the remote gambling bill, to regulate illegal online gambling, protect our residents against the harms of the industry, and for the corresponding taxation to flow to provinces. Deputy Speaker, to support financial and corporate governance, we will conduct provincial and local government accounting training, particularly on accounting topics such as annual reports, in-year monitoring, GRAP, and the modified cash standard systems. We will further continue to support internal audit and risk management research, as well as support departments and municipalities with the audit and accounting queries. Deputy Speaker, we need strong municipalities to be able to deliver services to the residents of our province. We will thus support 12 municipalities through our Western Cape Financial Management Capability Grant with projects amounting to over 63 million rand over the next 3 years. We will allocate 2 million rand to appoint an MSCOA project manager over the 2025 and 2026 financial year. We will allocate over 6 million rand for the Municipal Financial Recovery Services grant to support municipalities requiring financial interventions. We will participate in the national review of the local government white paper and possible legislative amendments, and we will allocate 1.182 million rand for a revenue masterclass to support municipalities with work on revenue enhancement and generation. Over and above the continuous accounting, auditing, economic and procurement support that we offer to municipalities, the following municipalities will benefit from 18.6 million rand allocation through the Municipal Financial Capability Grant in the 2025-26 financial year. Deputy Speaker, Cedarburg Municipality will receive 2.5 million rand for the installation of smart water meters. Matsikama Municipality will receive 1.2 million rand for asset management system support and 1.48 million rand for replacement of induction meter projects. Overstrand Municipality will receive 240,000 rand for a feasibility study for a credit control and debt collection unit and 432,000 rand for long-term financial planning projects. Hesoka Municipality will receive 250,000 rand for indigent management, 600,000 rand for asset verification, and 200,000 rand for long-term financial planning projects. Oudtshoorn Municipality will receive 160,000 rand for developing a cost-reflective tariff setting tool, 800,000 rand for smart meter replacement, and 100,000 rand to support internal audit. Overberg District Municipality will receive 1.42 million rand for revenue enhancement and optimization, 1.3 million rand for tourism enhancement, 750,000 rand for a feasibility study for holiday resort ownership restructuring, and 300,000 rand for a feasibility study for the establishment of a crematorium projects. Saldanha Bay Municipality will receive 2 million rand for the installation of smart water meters. Kannaland Municipality will receive 500,000 rand for a municipal performance management data system and its rollout. Beaufort West Municipality will receive 495,000 rand for a comprehensive cost of supply study and revenue optimization within a changing energy landscape. Central Karoo District Municipality will receive 400,000 rand for capacity for the budget and treasury staff on accounting and annual financial statement preparations, and 500,000 rand for long-term financial planning projects. Prince Albert Municipality will receive 800,000 rand for long-term financial planning, 700,000 rand for revenue enhancement and indigent system verification, and 1 million rand for installation of water and electricity meter projects. And Laingsburg Municipality will receive 540,000 rand for revenue optimization and enhancing water management. Deputy Speaker, as a provincial treasury, we will continue to fight for our fair share for our province because we believe in fairness. Trust is important to us, so we will step up to ensure that residents understand how government spends their money. We will innovate by diversifying our revenue sources and using technology to get our officials home for dinner so that they can live lives they value. And we will focus on value for money by making it easier to do business with government. We will continue to support strong financial and corporate governance. We will do all of this, Deputy Speaker, because it is our job to support and enable departments and municipalities so that we can together deliver growth and jobs for our residents. I would like to thank our wonderful Treasury team, led by our Head of Treasury, Ms. Yolinda Cantana, and our senior management in the box, for your leadership, your unwavering dedication and commitment that our Treasury will be innovating in ways that we have never seen before. Our departmental officials, all 336 on the establishment, a little bit less because we're going to focus on those vacancies, for your hard work to bring these programs together and for stepping up towards a more revenue-focused Treasury. Special thank you also to our CFO, Ms. Anne-Marie Smit, for making sure that we stick to good governance principles en dat ons eie boeke klop. To my ministry team, led by Dr. Grant Caswell. Thank you, Ms. Marshallie Fredericks and Mr. Lenko Vance Oosthuizen, for your strategic advice, guidance, and many, many robust legal, economic, and fiscal debates that we have on a daily basis. To every treasurer, whether in person here today or online, of our 336 establishment, the smallest government department in our province and the smallest treasury in our country, know that the reason we are a province people can invest in is because you are a treasury we can invest in. And it is my hope, Deputy Speaker, that this budget vote reflects that. Deputy Speaker, I hereby table the provincial treasury vote and hope that this House supports it. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I recognize the Honourable Nkondlo.
Honorable Speaker, members of this House and citizens of the province, allow me to first congratulate Member and Professor Mbombo by receiving a Black Excellence Awards from the Black Management Forum last week, Friday, here in Cape Town. Let me further plead to her to speak to the self-proclaimed horse next to her that SA belongs to all who live in it, black and white. And segregation laws were done away with, and why we celebrate freedom this month, just to remind him. And so we are citizens with full rights to reside and own properties anywhere in this country of ours. From the Eastern Cape to the Western Cape to Limpopo to Northern Cape, no one is a horse by exercising their citizen right and a choice of freedom of movement. Speaker, budget reflects choices about what government will and will not do. And thus the writing is on the wall of this budget being a budget to sustain the first economy that is predominantly white and masculine in character, a budget that drives the legacy of apartheid dual economy, one for the rich that is male and white with sprinkles of the black proxies as detailed in Black Skins, White Mask by Frantz Fanon, while systematically keep to the fringes the black majority in poverty and squalor through a racialized capitalist economic growth agenda. That is why, through this budget, this provincial treasury could not save the SMME booster fund targeted to the most vulnerable sector of this economy, which has spent nothing even close to $1 billion. Whilst on the other hand, you know, the minister and all her colleagues will be boasting about the billions of rands that are going towards infrastructure fund that will benefit the big construction companies to whom evidence is available of their mischief not to adhere to the very subcontracting provisions prescribed in the regulations for this industry, let alone meagre wages they pay to construction workers in the name of jobs, and their behavior of appointing illegal foreigners as witnessed in the George Collapse building. An industry that brazenly breaks rules, undermines government policies and regulation, is punted as the savior of our economy and the messiah for jobs. The leadership of this provincial treasury is also an interesting point to note that the DA pursuing its third term since 2009, and interestingly, it had 5 MECs to date in this portfolio, with the second term being so unstable with 3 MECs in 5 years, from MEC Ivan Meyer to MEC Mainir, then to MEC Wenger. What does this tell you about leadership of public finances and their importance in this DA-led province? Is there a relationship to be drawn from the leadership changes in this department and the challenges in the administration where COE budgets had been surrendered repeatedly whilst delays in filling vacancies became the order of the day, leading stress to workforce and workforce exits that had been recorded in this department, a phenomenon that drew concerns from the SCOPA in the previous financial year around their annual report. We were told by .P that this department is just a little above the threshold of 20% on COE, below the provincial department's average, sitting at above 30%. .P further told us that in their work of streamlining human resources, they are also looking at efficiencies in structure, which in any way is what must preoccupy us all to find the best men and women for the job. And in this case, in protection of the public finance and equitable distribution of public resources. We wonder, with the upcoming local government elections of 2026, in this term, if we will not see a reshuffle of the MEC, and we are sitting in anxious anticipation. This department spoke of blended financing models as a future consideration to, I quote from the book, to cushion provincial fiscus against unpredictable national fiscal framework and to facilitate sustainable service delivery. Whilst we welcome the COE increase of 21.5% and given the flat structure this department of Treasury is having, it is important also to ensure that we manage the increasing budgets around consultants, because these are very important, you know, in ensuring that we do not hollow out a state capacity, but instead build into the state, you know, the capacity to actually oversee this private sector that is actually going to be delivering services and goods for the public. It is important to also note that in page 104 of the Blue Book, we are told of the Provincial Treasury, open quote in the book, it says, we'll explore research into a new revenue streams. Another announcement, which I must make mention, from what Member Heron correctly characterized this government as a government of declarations, that it was in 2021 under MEC Mainir budget of hope when he declared the Fiscal Futures Project, and in his budget vote further emphasized that the Fiscal Futures Project will build on many years of fiscal sustainability research done by Provincial Treasury to identify future risk and respond to the rapid changes in the national and provincial fiscal landscapes. It's in 2025, we're still continuing and doing research over a litany of research that gets to be done by this department. Again, in their public stance and spins from this government of declarations has become the new norm in the public financing and budgeting process of this province. As they talk less, they talk more with less action or results, regurgitating with money in millions and billions, the only constant introduction, whilst the basis of spend is the same, just new terms gets to be changed. Again, MEC Mainir in 2021 told this very House, under what he termed efficient infrastructure investment, that in his speech he says, I quote, the new project preparation facility, which he announced in the main budget, will assist departments and public entities with project preparation costs so they can create a clear, visible pipeline of infrastructure projects, and the 23.8 million was allocated then to the new project preparation facility as a first tranche. He further told the House then, under this Provincial Treasury Department, that a technical support panel for infrastructure financing is currently in the final stages of development, with final terms of reference being at an advanced stage. If that was the announcement in 2021, why in 2025, in page 107, the MEC of Finance, that 4.392 million has been reallocated from 2024-25 financial year to the current for the purpose, again, of appointment of a panel of experts to technically assist and evaluate project proposal for infrastructure funding opportunities, including infrastructure pipelines. So from the project preparation facility of 2021, with a technical support panel that was in its final stages, including TORs, the department again announces another appointment in 2025 of another technical support panel for the very infrastructure project. Who is fooling who? This department is supposed to play a key role in ensuring departments and municipalities to provide policy direction, facilitate and enforce the management of provincial financial systems and supply chain and movable asset management systems within the provincial and municipal spheres, and to promote accountability and financial governance within department entities and municipalities. However, when you look at the underspending of the City of Cape Town in human settlements, you wonder if this department does actually do its job. For the informal settlement upgrading partnership grant, the Metro was allocated 592.9 million for the 2024-25 financial year. And now we are told that the total available funds was reduced by the National Treasury due to poor performance. In a year just before a local government election, we were supposed to see an increase in resources on financial governance, especially to deal with what the department calls political instability risk as defined by the department, but also the phenomenon of coalition governments that are becoming a new norm even in this well-governed province. The slight increase in financial governance program from 46.035 million to 49.252 million in 2025-26 should be reconsidered. Our municipalities are in need of financial oversight. More money should be spent on making sure that our municipalities have the right systems in place for fruitful expenditure. However, there is a 59.35% decrease in the MFMA coordination. The mismanagement of funds creates a risk, or the poor allocation of funds creates a risk on the whole province. But more importantly, it affects our citizens, it derails service delivery and the inability of government to operate. The provincial treasury sits at the center of governance within this province. And when things are going wrong at smaller municipalities like Saldanha Bay municipality recklessly mismanaging 2.5 million rand during the 2023-24 financial year, or when police investigate dodgy tender processes in the city that involve members of a council, because you are at the core of governance, financial governance in particular, we will be asking you some questions, provincial treasurer. Dealing with financial misgovernance in some municipalities in this fiscal changing and politically fluid environment is something that must preoccupy all of us. Perhaps we should start bringing to the fiscal discourse a discussion about reimagining and reconfiguring South African provinces, considering the energy and water constraints we are experiencing as a result of climate change, guided by natural resource and catchment management areas. Shouldn't we reposition local government role and revenue consideration at local level? Shouldn't we be thinking beyond ourselves as supposedly project managers as this sphere of government, between national and local government, and start to live true to the notion of local sphere as closer to the people and where services are happening? We are not convinced that this budget enables equality and inclusivity of growth development of Western Cape. And so as the ANC, we reject this budget. I thank you, Deputy.
Thank you, Honorable Nkondlo. I see on the virtual platform, the Honorable Petrus. Honorable Petrus.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker and colleagues, I greet you all and all the people of the Western Cape. I speak on behalf of the Patriotic Alliance. Speaker, we support fiscal discipline, but we will not support selective distribution of funds and resources to our communities. The Patriotic Alliance will keep on fighting and campaigning for sustainable growth, jobs and opportunities for upcoming businesses and service providers in the townships. The role of Treasury is crucial to achieving. This must be an all-integrated approach, including municipalities, through the strengthening of the local economic development units. Speaker, safety was identified as a key factor for economic growth. Talk about extortion, but do we have the capacity to neutralize it? What is your plan and amount budgeted to fight extortion, which you have identified as a risk? And what is the financial impact of economic crime on the budget and economy of the Western Cape? This government must introduce more new markets also to upcoming businesses. We will support your efforts in achieving this. It is also important that we spend more on human resources and capacity. If we don't have the manpower, we will not be in a position to effectively deliver to the people of the Western Cape. Speaker, underspending can't continue without consequences. We all have a collective responsibility to see that services are delivered to the people, and we agree with performance-based budgeting. Despite our serious concerns about this budget vote, the Patriotic Alliance support the vote.
Thank you so much, Honorable Petrus. I see on the virtual platform the Honorable Kasim.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, while some of the key functions of this department includes the allocation as well as the management of fiscal resources to other provincial departments and municipalities, what is concerning, Deputy Speaker, is the lack of action from this department when those who have been provided with these fiscal resources fail to either fully utilize them or to utilize them improperly. Deputy Speaker, it is also not clear what sort of advice this department rendered to these other provincial departments, as those departments still fail to provide the much needed key services, such as the provision for housing, building of infrastructure, as well as classrooms and hospitals, among others. Deputy Speaker, the result of such failure in service delivery means that those departments will now return some of those unused allocated funds back to National Treasury at the end of the financial year, whilst conditions of our people in the Western Cape continue to be worse off. Deputy Speaker, under the department's watch, we have seen municipalities such as Beaufort West, Three Waterskloof, and Kanaland experience financial difficulties ranging from being unable to handle and properly use their own finances, as well as incurring huge debt bills to national entities such as Eskom. The question then arises, Deputy Speaker, as to why there are no preemptive measures from the department to municipalities in this province to guard against these pitfalls. Deputy Speaker, the department has been failing over the years to effectively use its allocated budget to make sure that it renders its duties effectively as provided above. So as the EFF Deputy Speaker, we are not convinced that this particular table budget will be used for a good purpose, and we therefore reject it. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Kasim. I recognize the Honorable Johnson.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, today we consider a budget that embodies not only fiscal responsibility, but also a firm commitment to innovation, growth and resilience. In the face of a challenging economic climate, the Provincial Treasury has adopted bold, forward-looking strategies to ensure that every rand is spent with maximum efficiency and impact. Through initiatives such as the alternative and blended financing, alongside the Fiscal Future Project, we are laying a solid foundation for sustainable development and expanded economic opportunities in our province. Continued investment in the capacity building of staff within the department and its entity, the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board, it is already bearing fruit. This budget further affirms the department's commitment to supporting local municipalities, ensuring legislative compliance, and ultimately delivering the best possible services to residents of our beautiful province. Honourable Deputy Speaker, people and innovation continue to be the primary drivers for the Provincial Treasury in fostering an environment where good governance flourishes, municipalities receive support, and public resources are effectively utilized for lasting impact. By promoting transparency, enhancing fiscal resilience, and strengthening collaboration, the Provincial Treasury ensures that every decision is made with integrity and in the best interests of the people of the Western Cape. For this reason, the Provincial Treasury recognizes that people are this department's biggest strengths and should be invested in continuously. The budget allocation reflects the priorities of people and innovation. Of the total allocation of 67%, 67% has been earmarked for the compensations of employees. This marks a more than 20% increase compared to the 2024-25 adjusted appropriation. The Provincial Treasury is committed to filling critical vacant posts, reducing the workload of current staff, ensuring their well-being, and enhancing the department's capacity to deliver on its core services and responsibilities. When it comes to supporting local governments, the Provincial Treasury has launched several capacity building initiatives to assist municipalities and provincial departments. These projects are designed to acquire, enhance, and retain the necessary skills, the knowledge, tools, equipment, and other resources to ensure that the department and municipalities adhere to the PFMA, the MFMA legislation, thereby promoting sound financial governance. More than 22 million will be allocated to municipalities to enhance their financial management capacity and provide financial support aimed at improving overall financial governance. This will be achieved through interventions by the provincial executive and the provincial government. Honourable Deputy Speaker, I would like to bring attention to the Fiscal Future tool. This tool is a game changer for the provincial treasury, transforming how we predict and respond to fiscal challenges. This tool was specifically designed for the Western Cape government, enabling us to forecast key economic trends such as GDP growth and revenue fluctuations, and assesses their impact on our provincial finances. Its real value lies in the ability to inform data-driven decisions. During the last financial year, the tool played a pivotal role in navigating fiscal consolidation, allowing us to model different scenarios and adjust budgets proactively. Beyond short-term adjustments, it strengthens long-term planning by identifying risks and opportunities in an uncertain economic climate. Critically, the tool also helped us anticipate national budget trends, ensuring our funding strategies remain aligned with broader fiscal shifts. This isn't just about better budgeting, it's about building resilience, driving reform, and securing the Western Cape's financial future. Honourable Deputy Speaker, nearly 30 million will be allocated to the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board, with the rest of the budget designated for operational costs. The allocation to the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board reinforces the department's commitment in the capacitating of people and enhancing of revenue. The medium-term estimate for the 2025-2026 from casino taxes and horse racing taxes amount to in excess of 1.3 billion, more than paying for itself. Honourable Deputy Speaker, the Provincial Treasury will also establish an infrastructure panel of experts to assist with alternative and blended finance initiatives by evaluating infrastructure projects. This is a proactive measure in addressing national fiscal constraints by diversifying its financing mechanisms for infrastructure development. By turning to alternative financing options such as PPPs, public-private partnerships, and collaborating with global financial institutions, the Western Cape government is aiming to ease budgetary pressures and ensure major infrastructure projects can still move forward. An amount of 4.4 million has been reallocated from the 2024-25 financial year to the 2025-26 financial year to conduct an economic analysis of the potential tax implications under the proposed new legislative framework for casinos. This funding will also support the appointment of experts to provide technical assistance and evaluate project proposals for infrastructure funding opportunities, including those within the infrastructure pipeline. I urge members of this House to read page 26 of the summary booklet for more information on this innovative initiative. Honourable Deputy Speaker, together the investment in the capacitation of people, the Fiscal Future Project, the support provided to local municipalities, and the alternative and blended financing initiatives, the Provincial Treasury demonstrates its commitment to innovation, resilience, and growth. These initiatives represent a government that is not only addressing current challenges, but also looking ahead with a clear vision for the future and considering innovative tools. Through thoughtful planning, proactive management, and a strong dedication to sustainable development, we are ensuring that the Western Cape continues to prosper, even in challenging times. In this regard, the DA fully supports this budget. Thank you.
I recognize the Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. My colleagues are teasing me because I brought my red pen with today. Okay. Deputy Speaker, I'll try my best to deal with or respond to as many of the items as possible, a majority of which did not have to do with vote 3, but I'll do my best to get to all of them. In terms of the budget sustaining a white economy, this is not true, Deputy Speaker. 59% of all procurement in the Western Cape government goes to Black-owned businesses, and we do that without excluding anyone from the provincial economy. And you will find that in the previous financial year public procurement disclosure reports, which is public information. 80% of our budget also goes to our social sector that we have tabled in the House. That includes education, health, our social services, and our housing and community amenities. In terms of the wording was infrastructure mischief. If there's any allegations, please submit these for investigation. I would hate for people to also be accomplices in terms of the national legislation. In terms of the George collapse and the building, to my knowledge, this matter is still with the South African Police Services, and both the Premier and Minister Simmers has already spoken to this matter in the House. In terms of COE, budget surrendered and vacancies, this was also raised in the SCOPA meeting. And the commitment that we made last year at SCOPA was that we are going to focus on filling our critical vacancies, but also capacitating our department. And Deputy Speaker, in this main budget, what we attempted to do is to show how we are going to thus use the budget in order to address these resolutions that we receive from SCOPA. And this is what this budget is focused on, is capacitating ourselves. In terms of the COE budget surrendered, last year in the adjustment budget, we did indicate to the committee and to this House when we tabled the adjustment that we are asking to surrender, but that we get our money back into the main budget. So the realignment of that COE that you will see was when we asked last year for Treasury just to give the money back in terms of the respective budget. So that is that realignment that you will see. In terms of consultants, this is a bit of a mixed bag because some research is really much on a very niche industry. There are very few consultants, for example, in South Africa that does research, for example, on the gambling and racing industry that has access to respective data and evidence. However, we also, for example, as a new innovation last year, we wrote the Provincial Economic Review and Outlook in-house for the first time last year. So as much as we use consultants, we also do our best to write a lot of our research internally as well. For example, this local government booklet that I showed you was also written in-house by ourselves. In terms of the fiscal futures, I did suggest to the committee when we were before them last week, yes, to call us before the committee so that we can show the committee how we're using the fiscal futures tool. I alluded to some of the work that the fiscal futures tool is already doing in the main speech when I indicated that we are now able to forecast national growth and how we're using that type of information in our budgetary processes. In terms of the infrastructure preparation facility, that's a little bit different to the infrastructure panel. However, Deputy Speaker, we are more than willing that once our alternative and blended financing framework is done, which it is close to done, you can see some of the preliminary information on page 28 of the summary booklet and more information in the OPRI. We are more than happy to come before the committee to go into detail as to what exactly alternative and blended financing means. And it's not just loans, it's not just grants, it's also corporate social responsibility. It is also philanthropic financing. It is also grant funding. It's quite a bag of different finance mechanism. And not every department and not every sector is necessarily going to use the same financing mechanism for their industry, for example. But we are more than happy to do more in detail information for the committee should they wish for that. In terms of municipalities and allocating municipalities more money, Deputy Speaker, I did speak quite a bit on funding that we're going to give to municipalities and went into detail also per municipalities. This is also separate from the grant funding that DLG gives municipalities. This is also separate from the grant funding that National Treasury gives municipalities. And what we also try to do is we try not to duplicate the funding that we give to municipalities. For example, if National Treasury is going to give you water meters, then maybe we will help you with funding for electricity meters. But there's no reason for us to duplicate funding in this regard, for example. In terms of allegations regarding city, please do report this to the National Treasury and CC us, and please also include the respective evidence, as the city is classified as a metropolitan in terms of national legislation in this regard. In terms of energy and water constraints, I did went into detail on the financial capability grant a little bit earlier in the main budget vote speech that this earlier now today. And much of this funding is also going to go for funding towards energy and water programs and revenue enhancement within municipalities. And this is over and above the energy projects that the government is doing. On page 126 of our OPRE, you will see, Deputy Speaker, that there's an annexure. There's the premiers working on the Western Cape Integrated Resource Plan, demand-side management program, education departments working on LED lighting, environmental affairs and development planning is working on the green economy ecosystem support, premier departments working on municipal pooled buy, infrastructure is working on municipal IPP procurement in Stellenbosch, infrastructure is working on project preparation facility, local government is working on pilot renewable energy solutions in municipalities, local government is working on specialist service providers, health and wellness is working on PV systems in provincial health buildings, Western Cape Education Department is working on solar PV in schools, infrastructure is working on grid and transmission infrastructure upgrade planning, local government is working with municipalities on their EMPs, economic development and tourism is working with the Western Cape Just Energy Transition Investment Plan, Premier is also working on additional capacity, local government is working on additional capacity also specifically regarding water and wastewater load shedding, and Western Cape Education Department is also working on additional capacity for support and implementation. And then there's also additional money that is in the reserves because the Energy and Water Council is currently re-looking some of their programs to include water in the previous what we called energy reserve specifically. In terms of human settlements, we support the Department of Infrastructure with their work on the intergovernmental dispute, because we do believe that the data at a national level is incorrect, and we will support them in that work. On the decrease on the MFMA budget in the book. So, Deputy Speaker, I'm just going to quickly go through this because it's actually an accounting shift. It's not that it disappeared, it's just an accounting shift. So the grant budgets used to be centralized under the MFMA coordination. So this year it's being allocated to the respective managers it's in capacity building in program 4, and the rest to either the MFMA group 1 and 2 is depending on the director responsible for the respective grants. So it's not that the money has disappeared or the program has disappeared or that we're not doing it anymore. It's just really an accounting shift from one unit to another. We are still doing the work. So there's no actual decrease in terms of service delivery in that regard. Deputy Speaker, Member Petrus asked how much of this budget goes to our safety and economic development programs. Just under 4 billion rand of this budget goes to safety. It's 3.95 billion rand, and just over 43 billion rand goes to our growth for jobs programs. You will also find these in the respective clusters. So while you won't find the direct program in the provincial treasury vote, which deals with provincial treasury matters, finance matters. You will find this often in some of the other departments like economic development, like agriculture, and so on. In terms of extortion, my colleague in Police Oversight Community Safety already spoke to the extortion programs last week, but I encourage you to please engage the department and the minister on these items. In terms of new markets for economic development, my colleague Mayor in economic development, agriculture and waste also spoke to these last week. And I do encourage the member to engage those particular committees more on these programs and how you can participate. One of their programs that I absolutely love is the Export Accelerator program that is economic development and waste and agriculture, because what happens is that program actually helps SMMEs to understand what they need to do in order to scale so that they can access new markets in terms of exporting. So please do engage these departments through their respective committees or the respective minister. I'm sure that they will be more than happy to assist. In terms of human settlements, I've already dealt with that we support DOE with the IGD. In terms of the support to Kanaland, so I know that I only dealt with what we're supporting Kanaland with the financial capability grant, member Kasim, in terms of the 500,000 rand we're giving them for municipal performance management data system and rollout. But however, if you are a municipality that's under financial intervention, you also then qualify for the financial intervention grant, which is over 6 million rand for this program that we are budgeting for the next 3 years to be able to help municipalities to be able to get out of their interventions and to support them while they're in it. But we're also currently working with Kanaland. I know that previously Kanaland didn't agree to the financial recovery plan between National Treasury and ourselves from Provincial Treasury, but they have agreed now, and we are working National Treasury, Provincial Treasury and Kanaland to make sure that we have a financial recovery plan for them in place. But Deputy Speaker, I just want to end off by saying that what we really try to focus on in this particular Provincial Treasury vote, sometimes we refer to ourselves as Treasury and sometimes we refer to us as Finance. But what we really try to focus on for the department in this vote is how we're going to make sure that we capacitate our people so that they don't burn out, so that we're able to alleviate their workloads. And in order for this, we are really capacitating in terms of filling the critical vacancies, making sure that we have development programs in place, making sure that we have work-life rhythm policies in place, making sure that we use technology in order to alleviate workloads for people. We're also saying to ourselves that, we've done so well over the years in terms of understanding expenditure, spending patterns. We need to now reshift towards focusing on revenue, because this is now a new sector that we need to understand. We need to understand
Honourable
how we're
Minister,
able to.
are you able to take your seat? I know that you have indicated that you are concluding, but we have a point of order to be raised. I see the Honourable Petrus.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, we are busy with the budget here. Can we have
Honourable
that amount?
Petrus, do you have a point of order? If so,
Yes.
if you are able to raise that point of order.
Yes, Speaker. Can we have that amount that was budgeted for economic crime and extortion?
Honourable Petrus, that is not a point of order. I will encourage you to submit any additional questions via the parliamentary processes. Minister,
Speaker.
back over to you.
Speaker.
I've already taken your point of order,
No.
which is not a point of order.
No,
The minister will conclude
I
at
didn't
this
say
particular
point of
time.
order, Speaker. You say that.
Minister, please conclude.
Thank you, Speaker. Deputy Speaker, I know that sometimes it can be a little bit confusing because when we tabled the main budget, so on the 27th of March, I was Treasury actually, because now I'm tabling on behalf of the whole Western Cape government. But today, actually, I know I call everyone treasurers and, these are some of the colloquial words that we use. But today we are vote 3, the provincial treasury vote, how we're going to spend money within the department and not necessarily what safety is going to spend or economic development. However, I will repeat some of the figures I indicated a bit earlier on our safety programs. And Speaker, you can also find this in the summary booklet that we sent everyone and tabled. It's also a new innovation, in case anyone wondered about the extra publications that we are doing. Of the full budget of 269.5 billion rand over the MTF, we are spending money on growth for jobs, safety, educated, health and caring society, and innovation, culture and governance. And you will find that safety is just under 4 billion rand in terms of their programs. You will find that growth for jobs is just over 43 billion rand for their respective programs. And this is a bit of a summary in this booklet on what respective programs are based on. You'll find some more information in the OPRI. You would have also found more information in the respective department's book. And I have given information on that. And my request is that if you have specific questions for a particular minister based on their portfolio, please do submit it to them. I'm sure my colleagues, we will be able to send through more information to Parliament if this is need be. But in terms of just the vote for the provincial treasury and how we are going to capacitate ourselves in terms of provincial treasury. We will, obviously, Deputy Speaker, I was saying that we're going to be more revenue focused and we're going to focus a lot more on technology in order to be able to alleviate workloads. But also when it comes to financing mechanisms and things like taxation, it's a big topic in South Africa. So for us, what is very important is the principle of fairness. And we've highlighted, for example, in the work that we're going to be doing with gambling and racing, how we're going to bring that principle of fairness in. But we also want strong municipalities. And we've really, we've looked at some of the information that municipalities have been sending through and how we can collaborate across different government departments to be able to support our respective municipalities. Deputy Speaker, I want to thank again just our Treasury and also just the chairperson and the respective members of the committee for always for their robust questioning and also for the ideas, their suggestions. We always try to find a way to improve even more and more upon our work. And we really hope that you will see in this budget vote how the provincial treasury really is stepping up so that we are able to support departments and municipalities so that together we can all deliver for growth and jobs. Deputy Speaker, I hope that this House will support the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. That concludes the debate on this particular vote. Officials that are in the officials bay will exit at this particular time. We have guests arriving for the Department of Mobility. Thank you, HOT and all the officials for your attendance. I'll note the secretary to read the following order.
Debate on vote 8, mobility, Western Cape Appropriation Bill.
I recognize the minister.
Adjunct Speaker, Premier in sy afwesigheid, kabinet, collega's, leier van die amptelike oppositie, agbare lede van die huis en almal in die huis, veral team mobiliteit. Molweni, goeiemiddag, good afternoon. Freedom Month is significant to our country's young democracy. It is a time to reflect on the gains of the past 31 years while looking at opportunities that lie ahead, specifically the importance of accessible and equitable transportation for all our residents. Deputy Speaker, mobility is a basic human right and the lifeblood of the Western Cape's economy. It is indeed how we get to work, schools, hospitals, places of worship, connect with our loved ones, and how we move goods from production to the market. During the 2025 State of the Province address in my hometown, Beaufort West, the Premier made a clarion call to everyone to step up. As the Department of Mobility, we are doing exactly that. With this budget, we are stepping up to for the economy and for all residents of our beloved province. I am therefore humbled that we have been entrusted with a 3.2 billion budget for the 25-26 financial year to advance mobility by a donkey and Minister Bartman and Aspan. We are indeed putting our money where our mouth is. This budget is a testament of this government's commitment to enhancing mobility across our province, promoting inclusivity, supporting economic growth, and ensuring that we continue to build a just and equitable society for all. Deputy Speaker, as we continue to grapple with the mobility challenges faced in our province, our delivery plan is underpinned by our vision of connecting people, goods, and institutions. One such key challenge is indeed congestion. Cape Town is now positioned as the 9th congested city in the world, with commuters losing an average of 94 hours per year due to congestion. This is why everything we do is geared towards changing the current landscape. We are indeed elevating the need to an efficient public transport system and in the process of finalizing our draft provincial land transport framework. The PLTF serves as a strategic guide for land transport planning and has a long-term view to address the province's unique mobility challenges. In the coming weeks, we'll be embarking on a public participation process to invite comments from our residents and partners. While the PLTF process is underway, we need to address the current challenge in public transport. Public transport deeply influences our daily lives and is indeed very close to my heart. A functional public transport system is not just a convenience. It is the cornerstone of economic growth, social inclusivity, and sustainability. Deputy Speaker, a functional public transport system encompasses passenger rail as the backbone while supported and complemented by bus services, the minibus taxis, e-hailing taxis, and non-motorized transport. All these modes of transport are vital for daily commuting. It is for this reason that the bulk of our budget is geared toward public transport solution for our commuters. The George Integrated Public Transport Network continues to be a trailblazer as the first and only IPTN in a non-metro area. The Go George bus service conducts nearly 21,000 daily passenger trips and covers 75% of households in George. This is indeed an outstanding achievement. Therefore, we are committing an additional 83 million to advance the rollout of phase 4A of the project. This is the remaining route that will connect Thembalethu to the CBD area. Due to the success of this particular service, the National Department of Transport has made an indicative investment of a further 250 million to advance the project. This service is more than just transport, Deputy Speaker. It is a catalyst for economic growth and job creation in this region. By investing in infrastructure and services like Go George, we are laying the foundation for a thriving economy that serves the needs of our communities. Deputy Chief, if you recall, during my reply in the SOPA in my hometown, Ebova, Member Barnes made a carry-on plea that we do need to focus in Beaufort West, especially in the Central Karoo. As a government that is responsive and is one of our values of this particular government, we are responsive. We don't look at who you are, what color of t-shirt do you wear, but we look at the needs of our people. Now focusing on the Central Karoo, one of the underdeveloped districts in our country, 4 million will be allocated towards the Intertown Rural Transport Solution member bonds. This solution seeks to strengthen collaboration with the minibus taxi operators to connect citizens to social, education, and health services. For the 25-26 financial year, 1.3 billion has been allocated by the national government from the PTOC to manage and monitor Golden Arrow bus services. The bus service carries around 230 passengers per day from townships such as, listen quietly, Mbekweni, Wellington, Khayelitsha, Gugulethu, Nyanga, Mitchell's Plain, Elsie's Rafir, Eersterivier, Strand, Grassy Park, just to name a few, to access socio-economic opportunities to a subsidized rate. Deputy Speaker, the minibus taxi industry continues to operate throughout the Western Cape and provides approximately 1.5 million passenger trips per day. The industry's financial operating model is not economically viable, which leads to many challenges, including the rampant violence and the intimidation tactics amongst operators. It is against this background that my department has set aside 9.2 million to directly support the industry through a financial agreement. Most importantly, Deputy Speaker, 2 million of this funding will be used for training interventions, conflict resolution initiatives, including mediation and professionalization programs. Since its inception, the minibus taxi task team has been making remarkable progress. The engagements at times are robust, but it's a step in the right direction. Transforming the industry into a safer and more efficient transport option for commuters is pivotal. Deputy Speaker, now turning to my attention to passenger rail, the backbone of public transport. I beg for your indulgence as I'm going to talk about the backbone of public transport. Passenger rail is vital to the public transport system of the Western Cape, serving as a lifeline for countless residents and a foundation for sustainable urban growth. It offers an affordable mode of transportation, especially for low-income communities, connecting them to economic opportunities, education, and essential services. I am therefore encouraged by how PRASA's recovery plan is faring. The recovery plan focuses on restoring and improving passenger rail services, particularly on the Central Line, which has been severely affected by vandalism, cable theft, and illegal encroachments. Most notably, Deputy Speaker, is the recent testing operations at the Khayelitsha branch line. This morning, PRASA carried out testing operations to Chris Hani with passengers for the first time. We are indeed encouraged by the strides that is made, regardless of where you come from, as the focus is on our commuters. When you do well, we clap hands. When you do bad, we hit you. Once the testing operations are improved by the rail safety regulator, we will see the entire Khayelitsha branch like running from Chris Hani to Cape Town. This is a great win for the province and mostly for the residents of Khayelitsha, who were left with limited public transport options for more than 5 years. In my recent engagement with PRASA, I have been advised that the full operation of this strategic line is imminent. The next line on PRASA's recovery plan is the Captain's Club line that runs from Mitchell's Plain. When both lines are fully operational, this will be an astounding win for commuters. While we continue to advocate for the devolution of passenger rail to a capable local state, we are working together with PRASA to get passenger rail to its former glory. We are not going to abandon our call for devolution of passenger rail. We forge ahead, but when you are doing well, we work with you. But we are still looking forward into the devolution of passenger rail to capable states. Deputy Speaker, I am delighted to announce that we are currently in discussion with PRASA to formalize our working relationship through a memorandum of understanding. Deputy Speaker, strategic partnerships are essential to address challenges and improve the mobility system. Non-motorized transport remains a focal area for the department. NMT is particularly significant in the rural areas like Beaufort West, as it complements existing public transport options. Our successful bicycle distribution program continues to change lives across this province, and most notably in rural areas such as Mamosbury, Beaufort West, Merverville, Nelspruit, and Overstrand. We are therefore making a further investment of 1 million towards this program to distribute 400 bicycles to the most deserving schools, neighborhood watches, NGOs, and small businesses. Deputy Speaker, for the Western Cape economy to thrive and grow at an exceptional rate, we need an efficient freight and logistic network. To support freight and logistics, 8 million has been allocated over the MTEF to the Freight Rail Revitalization Framework. 2 million will be allocated in the 2025 financial year. I am therefore excited to announce that in the current financial year, we will be embarking on the process of developing a business case to revitalize Overberg Freight Rail. We are stepping up for the economy. The business case is a very strategic initiative aiming at revitalizing freight rail, focusing on connecting the agricultural region of Caledon with the Balkan Inner Terminal in Bellville and the Port of Cape Town. This corridor is critical for the movement of agricultural commodities, including barley, canola, wheat, and other grains, which form part of the backbone of the Overberg economic activities. Last week, both the Premier and Minister Mayor welcomed the recent strategic move by Minister Creasy to initiate the first phase of the request for interest. This process congruently supports the strategic intent of Operation Vulindlela and Transnet vertical separation process. This is a positive step in rail reform and actualization. They are commitments made in the roadmap for freight logistics and the white paper on national rail policy. It sends the right signals to the economy on the much needed efficiency in the logistics network. Deputy Speaker, as the Department of Mobility, we will indeed take our rightful place in this process by being at the forefront of all developments. Deputy Speaker, road safety remains a critical concern as we are losing too many lives on our roads. Deputy Speaker, we know the impact of losing lives on our roads, on our economy. We spend billions of rands every year in this country due to road fatalities. Particularly, pedestrians and children remain our most vulnerable road users. As a signatory to the UN Decade of Action, with the objective of reducing road fatalities and injuries by 50% by 2030, we need to do more, and we need to do more and more. To complement our world-class 24/7 traffic law enforcement service, we will continue to roll out Road Safety Ambassadors program with an allocation of 2 million for the 25-26 financial year. The ambassadors will continue to be deployed in the identified hotspot areas where most pedestrian fatalities are indeed recorded. This project is an example of communities taking responsibility for their own road safety while providing job opportunities to young people. Deputy Speaker, I have to convey and share my disgust and disappointment that we had to withdraw some of our road safety ambassadors last year due to extortion. So I would really call on all residents of this particular province, as road safety is not only a responsibility of government, but it's a responsibility of everyone. So when our road safety ambassadors are confronted with extortionists in our different areas where we find a lot of pedestrian fatalities, that they own up, they stand up, and they protect these young children. Deputy Chief, our provincial traffic team will be allocated with 46 million for fleet operational cost and associated services. A further 57 million will be allocated for provincial traffic for specialized skills and technology. As a data-driven government, we will allocate 113 million toward the award-winning integrated transport hub. The integrated transport hub is a sophisticated technology and system engine that supports service delivery. With over 30 projects carried out by the hub, we continue to strengthen all elements of mobility and delivery, including public transport, freight, and road safety. Before I conclude, the Western Cape Government Motor Transport, GMT, our trading entity, does not receive any equitable share from the fiscus and is therefore self-funded. The GMT total budget estimate for 25-26 is 1.7 billion. From this allocation, 60 million will be utilized to develop a pipeline for electric vehicle infrastructure. This partnership supports the province's commitment to enabling new energy vehicle adoption within the government fleet, beginning with a focused rollout at selected sites. As a government leader in systems and applications, GMT will allocate 50 million towards the development of another regional hub and visage for the Vredenburg in the West Coast. It is rural indeed. Soos hulle altyd sê, ons fokus net altyd in die metro, maar ons wys hulle, ons is oral in die provinsie. Both programs will be rolled out with a partner, with the Department of Infrastructure. Me and Minister Simmers will be rolling out this particular intervention. This allocation supports the just transition process of decarbonizing our government fleet. Deputy Speaker, I am proud to announce that we have completed the feasibility study of introducing electric minibus taxis and ready to pilot this program at an operational setting. Once again, we are stepping up for the economy and our residents. Deputy Speaker, the budget presented today reflects the goals of our government, ensuring that we create a mobility ecosystem that is responsive to the needs of the people, while also laying the foundation for the future. Through strategic partnerships and bold investment in public transport, freight, and road safety, we are laying a foundation for a mobility system that works for everyone. My heartfelt appreciation goes to the Premier and my cabinet colleagues for the support and holding my hand while I navigate this dynamic portfolio. Ek moet sê dit is glad nie maklik nie. Jy sink of jy swem. En ons is baie bevoorreg dat ons heidaglik swem. To my chairperson, Udabs Wekandre behind me, who at times during the portfolio meetings is always accused of being the shop steward of the department. I want to thank you for your leadership and for the manner in how you conduct your business during our meetings. And to the entire Standing Committee for Mobility, thank you for the robust and yet constructive engagements. Thank you very much for that. I also want to take a moment to thank each and every official of the Department of Mobility under the leadership of the acting HOD, Mr. Daryl Jacobs, for their hard work, commitment, and perseverance. I know whenever I speak to the department, Deputy Speaker, I say to the department, we don't have time. We don't have time. So the public out there is waiting us to deliver services. There are people that are highly dependent on us. And I want to encourage and thank the department for hearing that call of understanding that we indeed don't have time. We need to render a service. We need to make sure that the majority of people in this province are able to use public transport. I am deeply grateful for everything that the department does under your leadership, acting HOD. To my incredible ministry team, thank you very much for holding my hand. Thank you very much at times for taking the responsibility to be in mobility, for understanding my vision, for being people-orientated, to understand that whatever I do, I don't do because it's politics. I do it because of the residents of this province. For too long that people have been looking for affordable, efficient, and safe public transport. It is our vision that one day we will be able to deliver that to the residents of this province. Last but not least, I would like to thank my family, who is not here, for being able to look after my kids at home while I'm all over the province, making sure that the residents of this province are safe, that everybody that comes into our province comes to a province where we have seen a decline in terms of road safety. Each and every month, we see that trend continuing, see a decline. So there is something that we are doing right. It wouldn't be possible if it was not because of my wife, who's able to look after my kids whenever I have to leave home, while they are asleep, and return while they are asleep. Deputy Speaker, with those, I would want to table my budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you. To the virtual platform, I recognize the Honorable Nkwensu.
Speaker, honorable members, the leader of the opposition, the chief whip of the ANC, people of the Western Cape, my dear comrades.
Respond.
And also the MEC for mobility. I think, Speaker, it'd be important for me to give the MEC for mobility and advise free to say, do not mimic Musi Maimane because you may be booted out of the DA. Speaker, I would rather today to debate and adopt the 2025-2026 budget vote aimed of mobility. We are reminded of the powerful words of Solomon Mahlangu, who before his execution on 6 April.
Sorry, Deputy Speaker, point of order.
Honorable Nkwenso.
1979 by the upper regime.
Just hold on for me online. I see the Honorable Brian.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, it sounds as if the speaker is in a room with other people and we're hearing different voices. It's hard to pick it out. Thank you.
Honorable members, I can confirm that during the engagement, I personally had to mute one of the participants online. Once again, I would want to caution those that are online, you are not allowed to unmute. You are not allowed to unmute. I again see the Honorable Nkwenso.
Thank you very much for giving clarity to a person who wanted perhaps to tarnish my image. Chair, I think I must repeat to say, today we are reminded of the powerful words of Solomon Mahlangu, who before his execution the 6th of April by the brutal and vicious barbaric apartheid regime, he had this to say, I quote and close quote, "My blood will nourish the tree that will bear the fruits of freedom. Tell my people that I love them. They must continue the fight." Today, we must ask ourselves, what fruits have been born from the sacrifices of our might? When we look at this budget, which continues to exclude the poor, prioritizes the urban elites, and abandon the very people of whom Mahlangu and countless others gave their lives, we must speak out with the same revolutionary conviction that defined our liberation struggle. This budget is rooted in an ideological framework of neoliberal austerity that is inherently anti-poor and urban-centric. Against this background, we then strongly reject the 2025-26 budget. What we are presented with is not merely a fiscal document, it is a damning indictment of the DA's ongoing neglect of working poor and rural communities across our province. This budget exposes the DA's true priorities, serving urban elites while systematically excluding the rural poor from access to basic mobility services. Speaker, the glaring inequality in transport subsidies reveals the DA's neoliberal governance approach. While the MSC for Finance proudly announced the 4 billion allocated to my city and God George services, benefiting about 34,000 predominantly urban communities, she failed to acknowledge the millions of rural residents in the Central Karoo, West Coast, Overberg, etc., who have no access to reliable public transport. Yet, MEC makes a big claim here today that transport is the lifeblood of the Western Cape economy. It is not talking to those who live in the countryside. Speaker, we applaud Minister Barakrisi's further investment towards the God George because the BRT initiative program remains an ANC program launched about a decade ago. This statement, Speaker, is not a condemnation of subsidies for my city and God George, but rather a call to expand the bus rapid transit program to other towns such as Hermanus. It is essential to have a government that cares for farm and domestic workers who must travel to work or access healthcare. This budget makes it clear if you do not live in privileged urban areas, you are forgotten. Speaker, it is evident that Honorable MEC Silegu and the Mobility Department have chosen to neglect the oil black-owned industry in the Western Cape, the minibus taxi industry. Instead of supporting this essential sector, MEC unleashes traffic officers to attack it, criminalize it, and cut its subsidy. The budget acknowledges the minibus industry contribution to the Western Cape, over 60%, 70% of passenger trips, or 1.5 million trips per day, but fails to provide concrete plans to invest in the sector. The budget speaks about formalization and improvement of minibus taxi services, yet it fails to explain what formalization and improvement truly mean in practice. We challenge MEC to clearly outline these concepts. What is urgently needed is investment in the taxi industry. The Shayela Smart program in its current form is not a meaningful economic investment in the sector, and this government must stop pacifying the industry. It's time for genuine investment. Speaker, the budget also fails to address the crisis in scholar transport, particularly in areas like Saldanha, where buggies and avanzas are competing with minibus taxis. The chairperson of Santaco, Mr. Hermanas, has called for the scholar transport sector to affiliate with Santaco, a call that has been blue-ticked by this government. The proliferation of informal transport options such as buggies and avanzas further complicates the regulation and control of the transport sector and puts commuters at risk. Speaker, in the course of my oversight work in the West Coast, Southern area, I was alerted of this dangerous rise of buggies and avanzas operating outside the taxi industry. These vehicles are increasingly being used for public transport, bypassing the formal sector, creating safety concerns for commuters and taking away the work of the minibus taxis. Speaker, the department's narrow obsession with the devolution of rail powers has hindered meaningful engagement with the rail sector. As the ANC, we commend PRASA for the reopening of the Central Line and call all the rail commuters, hawkers, and public to use every means at their disposal to defend this vital public asset. Speaker, we also call on President Ramaphosa and Minister Chris to resist the DA's political maneuvering on rail devolution. The call for devolution is not about improving the efficiency of the rail of our people. It is about making the Western Cape and Cape Town a federal province with the aim of deepening private participation in rail and freight. Private interests prioritize profit maximization, which means metro rail tickets will become unaffordable for working class commuters and workers will lose their jobs. Speaker, the Getting You to Work initiative is a good concept, but with only 3,000 job seekers registering, it is insufficient, especially considering the number of unemployed individuals in this province. That 3,000 is but a drop in the ocean. Rather than expanding this program, funds have been allocated to consultants' contracts. Therefore, we call on the department to expand the program beyond Cape Town and ensure that it reaches more people in need. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, the use of consultant services must not be a way to hollow out the capacity of the state or facilitate corrupt activities. We are deeply interested in knowing who benefits from these consultants' contracts. Further, can the MEC guarantee this House that none of these consultants are implicated in the Mini Cooper gang scandal currently under investigation by SCOPA? On behalf of the ANC-headed alliance in this province, which represent the collective mandate of the SACP, COSATU, SANG, and the voices of the working class mass of this province, we demand a radical reallocation of resources to prioritize rural mobility infrastructure. We call for the reinstatement of the Blue Dot and Red Dot taxi subsidy programs with the aim of getting full subsidization of the taxi industry, increased investment in safe, regulated scholar transport. The protection of PRASA as a national asset is serving all our people, meaningful subsidies for taxi commuters who form the backbone of our transport system, making operating licenses accessible, construction of dedicated lanes from the city centers to townships, report on the action taken against the traffic officer involved on the attack of a taxi operator. And finally, address the traffic congestion in Cape Town as the economy loses about 2.8 billion. And the MEC can't throw his head on the air and cry, yet there is a crisis, and expect only the city to deal with the matter. Speaker, the DA may have numbers to pass this budget, but they lack the moral authority to do so. To the people of the Western Cape, we say, the ANC-led alliance sees the struggle. We hear the cries of the rural mother who cannot access healthcare, the worker who spends half their wages on transport, and the scholar who is forced to ride on unsafe conditions. In memory of Cyril Mahlangu, we're calling to fight for a mobility system that serves all our people, not just the privileged few. This is not just about transport, it's about justice. It is about undoing the centuries and decades of spatial legacy of apartheid. It is about recognizing that mobility is not a privilege, but a fundamental human right. The DA's budget fails on all these counts, which is why unequivocally we reject it. the struggle continues until every resident in this province, whether in Khayelitsha, Klenkaro, has access to safe, affordable, and dignified transport. Let me conclude by addressing what appears to be political degeneration of the DA MPs. In their efforts to weaken the ANC caucus, they show a disturbing patriarchal chauvinism by attacking all ANC women. This behavior alone demonstrates that the DA will never transform. It will remain a party of white conservative liberals with a few black men merely serving as a token presence like a sparkling chocolate. On the other hand, these white liberals, along with some black apologists, attempt to isolate me from the ANC-led Alliance Collective Caucus. This is not only because they fail to understand that the ANC is a multi-ideological party, but also because this agenda is fundamentally anti-communist. The anti-communism and anti-worker sentiment they espouse mirrors the very same attitude held by the apartheid regime in white monopoly capital. Please know that we will not be silenced by these apartheid era tactics aimed at delegitimizing the voices of the working class. As the ANC in caucus, we therefore reject this budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Nkwensa. I see online the Honorable Constable.
Good afternoon, Deputy Speaker, and good afternoon, colleagues. Speaker, let me start by saying the Patriotic Alliance is a party determines itself when to vote for and when to vote against. For the ANC to call us traitors in this debate is dangerous, is a very dangerous statement. Speaker, the budget remains biased towards urban areas whilst rural areas remain neglected. MEC numbers don't lie. This mobility department remains dependent on consultants and lack the transfer of skills. The projects, Deputy Speaker, outlined in the Western Cape Provincial Land, the draft Western Cape Provincial Land Transport Framework is again a slap in the face of rural areas, and hopefully it will be rectified through the public participation process that the MEC spoke about. So, MEC, Deputy Speaker, here's our recommendations. Allocating an increased percentage of the budget to rural transport initiatives to enhance accessibility. Foster partnerships with local communities for input on transport needs, especially in underdeserved or underserviced areas. Improve transparency in budget allocations and project outcomes across different regions. The Patriotic Alliance encourage a rolling budget approach that adjusts allocations based on historical performance and evaluations. In conclusion, Deputy Speaker, for the Western Cape to thrive, a balanced approach to budget allocation between urban and rural communities is not just ideal, but essential. The Patriotic Alliance advocates for increased transparency, engagement with local demographics, and adjustments in budget strategies to promote equitable transport services across the province. By ensuring that no community is left behind, we can build a more connected and prosperous Western Cape. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Constable. I see the Honorable Lithakong.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Speaker, since the scrapping of the Blue Dot initiative in this province, this department has not developed any initiative to assist the minibus taxi industry. Speaker, a subsidy to the minibus taxi industry will go a long way in assisting residents of this province to afford the forever rising fares. It cannot be that only Golden Arrows bus services is the one to benefit from undisclosed amounts in subsidies benefits from this province, whilst there are areas in which their buses cannot even access in order to collect commuters. With the Cape Town Central Line and train services to other areas across the Western Cape still not fully operational. The demands for cheaper transport will always increase, and this department seems to be unwilling to assist at that level. So, Speaker, until the department adequately responds to the transportation needs of our people in this province, the economic freedom fighters will not be supporting this more than 3.2 billion tabled budget intended for the MTEF. Thank you, Somlom.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I see the Honourable Heron.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, the Western Cape's mobility budget for 2025 stands at 3.2 billion, with roughly 60% of the budget, or 1.9 billion, allocated to transport operations. But whether this money is being used to build a system that works for everyone remains to be seen. The current model prioritizes big operators while sidelining the very people who keep our transport moving. Golden Arrow's monopoly on scheduled bus services must end. Breaking up the contract into route clusters and tendering out these routes would drive competition, increase service coverage, and crucially create an opportunity for taxi companies to tender, compete, and participate more fully in the sector. It's time to bring them into the fold, not treat them as rogue or informal, and then leave them on the margins. Rail recovery is another pressing issue. The provincial government has been talking about working to restore commuter rail since 2019, but commuters are still waiting in frustration. You have invested billions of rand in learner law enforcement officers, but not 1 cent into fixing the backbone of mobility and the foundation of economic growth. Without serious intervention, we cannot restore our rail system to full capacity, and without rail, economic inclusion suffers. And I will say, Deputy Speaker, the response will be that this is a national government mandate, but so is policing. The province must move beyond words and start breaking down the barriers delaying rail restoration. People should not have to spend hours commuting just to earn a living. Mobility is about more than just moving people. It's about ensuring they arrive safely. Last year, during Mobility Month, only 2 free school bus checks were completed. That's 11 hours of oversight for thousands of learners who rely on transport daily. We must expand these roadworthy tests, ensuring every child gets to school safely every single day. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Heron. I now see Professor Umbombo.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, Premier in absentia, and the Cabinet, Leader of the official opposition, honorable members of Provincial Parliament, the members of the Fourth Estate, that is the media, the people of the Western Cape who are watching. Molweni ngale njikalang. Mandibulele ke ngokunikwa ithuba lokuthatha inxaxheba ndiphawula ngolwabiwo-mali lwevoti le kwisebe lezothutho lalapha eNtshona Koloni. Umphathiswa ke uTutuse utyatyadule esaneka ukuba uzaziqalula kanjani izigidi ngezigidi ezingamawakawaka amathathu anamakhulu anemivo, which is about 3.2 billion. Members of the House, through you, Deputy Speaker, as the chair of this committee, I confirm that the budget was supported actually by all but one in our meeting. The but one budget objector, Ugugugu, I'm not surprised in terms of the rejection. However, I would have hoped at least Gugugu to raise not only the noise, but also to come up with a solution. So Ugugugu izithongo ezithathu sive sasinye kuphela. Let me now raise the argument for why the DA supports this budget. It will be remiss of me not to reflect on the broader state of South Africa's transport system as a whole before I dive into the solutions that this budget is trying to solve. We begin with an assessment of the problem, followed by a diagnosis, and then the proposed solution. That's what my profession tells me how to approach this. Public transport in South Africa has long been left in a state of disrepair. The infrastructure is depleted and fragmented with limited investment while corruption continues to plague most state-owned enterprises. Transport is meant to be an enabler of economic growth, a facilitator of communication, and a powerful equalizer to address both inequality and inequity. Instead, it has become a daily struggle for the poor who spend 60% of their income to transport. Whether it is traveling to work, seeking employment, going to school, accessing healthcare, reliable transport is not a luxury. It is a lifeline, Deputy Speaker. A well-functioning economy requires a well-functioning transport network, the one that provides access to opportunities, fuel investment, and improve public safety. This budget, Deputy Speaker, reflects that vision and our unwavering commitment to create a connected and a mobile province. Now, I just want to start with a minibus taxi industry because I did indicate I'm coming with a diagnosis before we look in terms of the resolution that is being proposed by this budget. The minibus taxis, your favorite, serve almost 80% of commuters, but operate in a largely informal space, informal, not unprofessional space, plagued by infighting between associations and often prone to violent attacks. Bus industry service, the bus services like the Golden Arrow, My City in the Western Cape, and of course the others like the Parkcore, Rea Vaya, elsewhere, they've got limited coverage. With some facing actually aging fleets, yet they get more subsidy and support from the governments. The bus service often competes with minibus taxis, thus causing conflict and tensions because the government system is still operating in dark ages of consolidating a system that talks to all for the benefit of the commuter. The third, the rail service through the PRASA. Many routes are non-operational, as we know, as it is faced with infrastructure, vandalism, poor maintenance, and corruption. The freight transport brings challenges as tankers cause more congestion on the road, accidents also due to lack of rail to transport these large goods. We have heard when we visited the seaports recently how crucial the on-time and reliable transportation of the exports and imports for the trade are in order to improve economy. Aviation's, Deputy Speaker, although I don't want to dwell much on how national government has collapsed the SAA, but with the current challenges of air traffic and navigation services, where scheduled planes end up being docked, delaying arrivals and departures, these all cause havoc on economy. Deputy Speaker or Chair, Chair, that is the diagnosis of the South African transport system. It is rotten from the core, meaning it will be a mammoth task to expect Western Cape Mobility to fix the rotten system all by itself. It needs the whole of governments, local, national, and provincial governments to work together. It needs public-private partnerships, the associations, commuters themselves to assist. I commend the department for increasing the budget this year. This is an increase of 73.15 million, which is 2.32% from last year, demonstrating actually that the DA-led Western Cape's commitment to connecting people, goods, and institutions by providing the residents with an efficient, reliable, and safe transport network. A well-functioning economy requires a well-functioning transport network, which enable access to opportunities and also to improve safety. Investing more money into transport not only drives the economy, but bridges inequality gap as the poor spend, I'm repeating this, more on transport costs to access such amenities as I mentioned, like schools and healthcare. Chair, the minibus taxi industry, I want to go back there, plays the pivotal role in the Western Cape economy, as the minister has alluded to, and society by providing reliable and affordable transport, particularly to the working class group. The industry remains a cornerstone of the province's transport network. We all agree. The department has made a progress, as you have mentioned, like the Shayela Smart, to formalize the industry. And B, I'm not saying professionalize, to formalize, because we mustn't take them, it's an unprofessional industry. Ensuring it is safe and more reliable for all. Now, let me qualify this. Remember, the minibus taxi industry is the only industry that was there during the early stages of COVID pandemic. The member of the EFF actually mentioned that commuting our healthcare workers between their homes and healthcare facilities through the red dot. It is also the same industry that also commuted COVID-infected patients to the quarantine sites, if you recall. So thanks to the department for providing that support, because it's the same department that has done that. So kancane, we need to help the industry. We're not there yet, but we are getting there. So I'm excited when I hear that the department is prioritizing to formalize this industry. Chair, the DA has been calling for the devolution of powers for the rail to metros specifically. I thank the National Transport Minister for finally making progress towards that, mostly on the freight. Actually, we are urging the fast tracking that includes the commuter rail in terms of the devolution. The only way to establish integrated transport system is to apply the principles of subsidiarity. What does it mean? It means to decentralize the local service for the local people and managed by the local governments, with Cape Town specifically, potentially as a pilot, not only to help the Western Cape, but for the whole of South Africa when you integrate all these systems together. Cape Town's transport system is missing a crucial link, the trains. Yes, I hear that there's been a progress recently. While the city's My City bus system operates efficiently and taxis serve as a primary mode of transport for many residents, the absence of reliable train network creates significant challenges for commuters. To effectively address mobility issues, residents need an integrated public transport system where the taxis, the buses, and trains work seamlessly together, which is what for some of us when we travel, where we get one coupon for the taxi, for the train, for everything, for the e-hailing, all of those, whether it's an Oyster or whatever. That's what we're asking for the sake of the anti-SARAs. Trains were once the backbone of public transport in Cape Town, offering an affordable and efficient way to travel. However, the deterioration of the rail services under PRASA has forced commuters to rely more on taxis and private cars, driving up the costs of maintaining roads and contributing to traffic congestion. While various bus services and taxis cover large areas, it cannot match the capacity that a functioning train system provides. Coming from Tanzania specifically, where the train in the Eastern Cape used to be the mode of transport, I can understand. That's why I'm so passionate about getting the train to be able to work together with the taxis and the buses and everything and the e-hailing. Reviving the train network is essential, not only for saving money, but also for alleviating the road congestion. An integrated transport system will allow commuters to transition easily, moving between taxis, buses, trains, making travel more efficient and cost effective, as I made an example of using even one coupon for all of these. Last but not least, Chair, I want to talk about the traffic officers. Staff comes first with the issue of the HR. For me, so I'm passionate about that because there are no services without staff. So that's why we must always acknowledge the staff. The Western Cape stands out as the only province in South Africa so far with a 24-hour traffic law enforcement service, the last time I checked, with over 700 traffic officers and about 360 vehicles deployed across the region. The Western Cape Mobility Department, in collaboration with the key partners, including the National Traffic Police and the City of Cape Town and others, further strengthens the enforcement efforts. Together, they work tirelessly to improve road safety, particularly in high-risk areas, the N1s, the N2s, around the Kalish and so forth. If you look in terms of their 2024-2025 festive season, during that festive season, the team inspected over 215,000 vehicles. That led to 905 arrests It's a big thing, actually, even to have an arrest. And out of those 905, 627 of those, these were the people who were driving under the influence of alcohol. Imagine. Additionally, in the same period, a total of 72,438 fines were issued for various traffic violations, which was an improvement from the previous year. So my deepest gratitude to our traffic officers and the whole team there in the department for their commendable job to ensure road safety remains a shared responsibility. Noting through you, Chair, Acting HOD, the department is not only 1 year and so old, but also has been faced with not having the whole of a staff complement, specifically the head of department. I hope your search becomes fruitful. In conclusion, Chair, please, members, take care on the road, especially as we approach the Easter holidays and other long holidays. Please buckle up and make sure that even if you have got the kids at the back, they also buckle up. Don't drink and drive. Don't drink and walk in the streets. Don't be that passenger. Think of our traffic officers, the law enforcement officers, the emergency care workers, and all of these, because when you start misbehaving or you behave recklessly on the road, it impacts on everyone. But it must start with us and also with our family. Thank you very much for the committee to be the very dynamic committee who allows us to do whatever we want to do. And thank you to my colleagues for their support, more specifically my minister and also the department. The DA supports the budget. Sebenza mphathiswa igunya sikunikile duduza. Bosebenza, enkosi.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now recognize the Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. I will start with the highest three, and which is the chairperson of the committee in my responses. And firstly, Chair, thank you very much for your contribution in terms of the debate. And Chair, there is something that it's important that we need to stress. The issue of the subsidy that is given to the Golden Arrow bus services. It's an issue that has been there pre-94, and it's still an issue that is there post-94. And fortunately, it's an issue that is decided by the national government. So the national government must actually look at what is it that they need to do to make sure that they also cater for the minibus taxi industry. And I must share with the House, when you talk about the minibus taxi industry, even the national minister is also having a headache. And how does one deal with the minibus taxi industry in terms of funding? So that is an issue that is not going to go away within the near future. It's an issue that has been coming for the last 3 decades, while the African National Congress has been in power. So we are definitely, from a side of province, saying, we are not going to leave it at that. There have been several calls to say, let us engage with the National Minister of Transport. And during the last minibus taxi task team, there was a resolution that was taken that we are going to approach together with Santaco, the Minister of Transport, Umamu Krisi. We're going to talk about Shaila Smart. We're going to talk about the Blue Dot and see how can the government assist us as the Western Cape to make sure we stop crying about the minibus taxi industry not being subsidized, but we are actually looking at, tangible solutions so that we can move forward. And also, Chair, thank you very much for raising the issue of the traffic law enforcement officers. I need to share with the House that for the last 10 months in office, I have deliberately spent 80% of my time with the traffic officers of this particular province. It was not an easy thing to do. It was the right thing to do. Why did I take that particular decision to engage with them? For most of my time, during my time in my first few days, was because of the importance of what they do in terms of their work. Because once you come to this province, the first people you see is our traffic officers. When you leave our province, the last people that you see is our traffic officers. So as a government that has apex priorities of creating job, of increasing economic growth so that we can create more jobs, it is important when people come to this province, they are treated in a manner so that they can also go and share the message of saying the kind of service that we get in the Western Cape does not compare to other provinces. It is the best service. So when you want to invest here and assist us in what we want to achieve in making sure, we create more jobs, it is that responsibility. Also, Chair, we've also decided as a department, because I'm not a lone ranger, I work with a team, and Team Mobility has decided that we are going to appreciate those traffic officers for the work that they have done during the festive season. And I must say, I went through the whole province, and each and every individual was given a certificate of appreciation. And I must say, it did actually assist them to boost their morale. We are boosting the morale because it's an important job that they are doing. And secondly, Chair, I cannot disclose. We are looking within the space of the traffic management, how can we also add into some of the concerns that they have raised with me during my time when I was engaging with them. And me and Verli, the acting director, we are actually working on that because we understand the work that they do. It's very much important, and we need to make sure that we support when we need to support. To Member Brett Herron, I agree with you. Each and every time during festive season, Easters, we do go out and we encourage everyone to come to Jinlo so they can test their private vehicles. They can also test their public transport. But unfortunately, the appetite is not always what we want to see, because people are always afraid that we might pick up something and they might get a fine. But that's not our ultimate goal. Ours is to alert a particular driver that is going to go on a long trip to say, look at A, B, and C. Fix it, because it might put you in a very compromised position. So we also encourage municipalities to do a similar stance. And some of the municipalities have been assisting us in that regard. Whenever we go on such an initiative, they also assist us in that regard. And Chair, you see, Chair, sometimes it's very difficult to address hearsay. Hearsay, you read. You don't attend you don't attend the standing committee meetings of mobility, and you come as the EFF, you say something that you have read somewhere. You don't have a cooking clue what we are doing, what we have been doing. So I'm not going to waste my time. That's why Tevatos Clove is under a FRP, a financial recovery plan, because it's actually because of that particular member, because she was the MPEC chair and she ran away, she's here. So I'm not going to waste time in that, because her views are sometimes very, gossip. I don't go to follow gossip. Gossip is illegal. Let's go to member constable. That's my Bierman and my Homza. Hy is van Beaufort. Bierman, ek weet eers baie passievol oor die Karoo, soos ek ook passievol is oor die Karoo. Dis dieselfde met member Baans. Sy is ook passievol oor die Karoo. En dis kom ons gesê het, om iets te bereik in die lewe, moet iemand die eerste stap neem. En ons as die departement van mobiliteit is besig om 'n eerste stap te neem. Dus kom ons 4 miljoen in die begroting ingesit het om te kyk hoe ons die mense van die Karoo kan ondersteun, sodat hulle nou ook iets kan kry van die regering. En ons gaan meer en meer doen in terme van ons werk om seker te maak dat niemand van die Karoo word agtergelaat nie. So ek is baie dankbaar vir die ondersteuning en die insa in die komitee wat altyd positief is, en ek waardeer dit. Let's go to the most, how can I call our honorable names? I don't know whether I'm going to be addressing a member of the African National Congress or whether I'm going to be addressing a member of the South African Communist Party. Because, Chair, the GNU syndrome that is suffering from is confusing at times. He is so obsessed with what is happening in the GNU, and he does not even acknowledge when things are actually going the right way, or where there are, credible solutions to the issues that we are confronted with. Because if he was so influential as a partner of the, coalition of the ANC, of what you call this tripart alliance, as a member of the alliance, all these views that he wants to raise here, that we must do as mobility, he is not even succeeding to raise them when they meet, and now he wants to impose these views here. And the people that makes policy on public transport in this country is the national government, and is his alliance partners. He must lobby more so that we can change all the issues that we see in the minibus taxi taxi, in the minibus taxi industry, instead of coming here and crying foul, all of that. And also in terms of the congestion, we are dealing with congestion, and it's not a short-term solution. There are things that we are considering as a department. What is it what we can do in the short, medium to long term? And from the side of the ministry, we have called all the officials in mobility, where the session was facilitated by an outsider, to say what is it what you can do from the side of mobility to assist the work that is done by the city of Cape Town so that we can deal with the issue of congestion. So we are dealing with it, and we are looking at solution in terms of that. Chair, in closing, as much as I don't want to defend myself, when a person says I mimic Musi Maimane, I become a little bit worried. No, it's not mimic. When you represent the poor, they must not hear you speak about the poor. They must see your conduct. So that's why when I talk about the public transport, there is passion coming from inside, because I understand the struggles of the most marginalized people in this province. I don't portray as if I am for the poor, but I just recently adopted a fiscal framework for 0.5% on VAT, and then I was rejoicing. I have not seen him condemn the decision that was taken last week. Now he wants to be the holy cow here. He must get his priorities right. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you. That concludes the debate on this vote. Honorable members, the House will now suspend for 2 minutes to allow the guest of Minister Selegu to leave the officials' bay. Thank you. Honorable members, we now allow the guest of Speaker Mitchell to take their seats. The Secretary will read the sixth order of the day.
Debate on Vote 2, Provincial Parliament, Western Cape Appropriation Bill.
I recognize the Honorable Speaker Mitchell.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Premier, members of the Provincial Cabinet, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Honourable members and guests, residents of the Western Cape. It is indeed an honour to present to you the Western Cape Provincial Parliament budget for the medium term commencing in the year 2025-2026. Honourable Chairperson, the medium-term budget is our plan to resource a 5-year strategy and plan, and as articulated in the 2025-2026 to 2029-2030 strategic plan and the 2025-2026 annual performance plan. As we execute the constitutional mandate of oversight, lawmaking and public participation, we will continue pursuing a back-to-basic approach. Honourable Chair, back to basics simply means that we execute our core business as an institution to the best of our ability within our means and utilising all available resources optimally. There is simply no time, space or resources for frills and nice to haves not contributing to the execution of our core function. In our endeavours to positively impact the lives of the people of our province, we will focus on the following intermediate to long-term outcomes: enhance public trust, meaningful public involvement, enhance parliamentary effectiveness, improve overall capability, performance and resilience of the administration. Honourable Chair, the Constitution compels us to keep a clear line of sight to the broader societal context which we seek to impact as a legislative institution. Honourable Chair, I reiterate that through this budget, we are embracing the back to basics approach, which in return to the fundamental functions of what Parliament is constitutionally mandated to perform, namely lawmaking, overseeing the works of the provincial executive and facilitating public involvement in its processes. This central theme will guide our plans and operations over the next 5 years. Honourable Chair, through this budget, we plan to give effect to the key priorities for the 7th administration. They are building a credible WCPP, improving and expanding services and the experiences of the people of the Western Cape, strengthening the core business, strengthening the support to the legislators, strengthening organizational culture, administrative capabilities, performance and resilience. Honourable Chair, the perspective of our internal and external stakeholders, whom we had the pleasure of consulting over several sessions prior to developing this plan, were also taken into account. And some of the key matters raised by our stakeholders include the emphasis on the active role of the provincial legislatures, particularly in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, in lawmaking, oversight, highlighting the need for better utilisation of the authority. The efforts to improve the citizens' experience and expand access to the WCPP, fostering a culture of evidence-based decision-making, extending consultations to include those not typically in the room, ensuring that continuous engagement between the legislature, civil society, and the citizens take place, and building a trusted and credible structure through feedback mechanisms, enhancing public participation to strengthen oversight and representation roles, the importance of capacity building, skills training, and effective members of Parliament, and addressing the proper resourcing of committees, and the importance of mechanisms to track and implement the resolutions of these committees. Honourable Chairperson, let me turn to the specifics of the budget. The Western Cape Provincial Parliament's budget allocation for 2025-2026, including direct charge, amounts to 269.189 million rand. This is an increase of 11.119 million, or a 4.3% increase from the previous financial year. Honourable Chair, priorities are areas as identified and in our strategic plan and costing thereof is in Programme 1 under Governance and Leadership and Administration. The budget of 99.985 million will fund strategic initiatives that respond to a number of strategic priorities we have set for the 7th Parliament. Over this parliamentary term, Chair, we will position the Western Cape Provincial Parliament to be a credible, respected, reputable and a stable legislative institution that is modern in its operations, committed to openness and transparency, committed to upholding good governance, ethics and integrity, and effective at executing our constitutional mandate. This is key, Honourable Chair, in building trust and confidence in the legislature, improving our effectiveness at oversight, lawmaking, and public participation, and ultimately to deepen democracy in the Western Cape. Honourable Chair, being modern in its operations is the hallmark of a leading parliament, one that embraces technology to bring about greater efficiency in the process and procedures. And to this end, we will be making a major investment in the modernization of our facilities over the MTEF. Audio-visual upgrades are planned for the chamber, committee rooms, library, and other areas. An amount of 6.5 million rand was earmarked for this purpose in the 2024-2025 financial year, and a further 3.4 million rand is allocated to the 2025-2026 financial year. Honourable Chair, we anticipate that these upgrades will greatly facilitate the digital transformation of this provincial parliament, facilitating the work of members, political parties, and the administration, and enable more seamless integration of the public and stakeholders into the work of Parliament. Through technology, Chair, we will seek to strengthen the core business, improve administrative efficiency, and enhance our service and the experience of the residents of the Western Cape, all of which are key strategic priorities. This investment, Chair, is therefore core to attaining our objectives of the medium and 5-year term. Chair, a key aspect of embracing technology is facing the challenges that comes with modernization, including security. The security of our members, staff, and stakeholders is paramount. One of the biggest threats facing governments and parliaments today are risks related to cybersecurity. Data, information, and records that are leaked in a data breach may have devastating consequences for members, for political parties, or for staff. Reputationally, this could be disastrous for the provincial parliament and may erode public trust and confidence in the institution. To ward off the threat and the risk to the institution, we are going to be allocating in the region of 2 million rand annually over the MTEF for cybersecurity and funding of CCTV upgrades that will enable enhanced surveillance capabilities within the WCPP. We are also appointing a dedicated cybersecurity professional within our IT team to further improve the security posture. Honourable Chair, to promote openness and transparency as part of a credible institution, we have allocated an initial amount of 100,000 rand over the MTEF to support the development of an open data dashboard that will give the public greater access to the provincial parliament's information. This goes well beyond making legislative information available and entails a more proactive stance of involving citizens in holding Parliament to account through a range of accessible fora, platforms, and media. Honourable Chair, to further build public trust, we will introduce for the first time in this term a public perception survey that will assess the level of public awareness of the people of the Western Cape, of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, its mandates and functions, as well as the degree to which the public trusts the Provincial Parliament. It will also assess public and stakeholder perceptions of how effectively we are executing our mandates. This practice of engaging the public on how they perceive us will be institutionalized, starting with the first survey in 2025-2026. An amount of 2 million rand is allocated for this province-wide survey, which will be conducted by an independent team of researchers. Honourable Chair, strengthening organizational culture and building the resilience of administration is also a priority over the 5-year term. In this regard, we will implement a culture change intervention that will help us build a productive organizational culture in which staff are valued. We will adopt a range of approaches to support staff and build a culture where staff well-being is prioritized. We have allocated 252,000 rand for this in the 2025-2026 financial year. This will increase slightly over the MTEF, and by the 2027-2028 financial year will have reached the 276,000 Rand mark. In addition, Chair, we will regularly assess the culture and climate. Ultimately, a productive culture is key to supporting members in their role as legislators and ensuring we are well equipped to ensure citizens participate in the work of this Parliament. As part of the digital transformation of the WCPP, and repositioning the WCPP for impact, we will undertake an organizational development exercise that will also assist us to identify staff skills and capacity requirements. It will also assist the institution with the design of an organizational structure that meets future fit skills requirements. Honourable Chair, this will commence in 2025-2026. In particular, the alignment of resources to strengthen the capacity and capability of committees will be a key focus, including the provision of adequate quality committee research, content advisory, and legal support. Honourable Chair, this Parliament is committed to good governance, ethics and integrity, both in our oversight over the executive, but also in the manner in which we operate as a Parliament. This is fundamental to building a credible institution. And to this end, we will be undertaking a performance and expenditure review in 2025-2026 that will assist us to budget more efficiently, identify opportunities for saving, and even greater value creation through the work that we do. The budget of 26.563 million for Programme 1, for Programme 2 under Parliamentary Support Services contributes in the main to the strategic priority on the strengthening of the core business. Honourable Chair, this Parliament's core mandate is to oversee the executive action and to make laws while fostering greater public involvement. In 2025-2026 and in the outer years of the MTEF, we have allocated 3.5 million Rand to fund the work of standing committees. This allocation is key to ensuring that the engine room of Parliament functions optimally and executes the mandate effectively. In terms of oversight and lawmaking, we will introduce an institutional oversight and accountability strategy that aligns to lead parliamentary practice, and that will provide the framework within which oversight is exercised in the WCPP. Honourable Chair, we will do more to institutionalise the involvement of civil society in order to ensure that oversight and lawmaking is informed by lived realities of the people of the Western Cape. And in this regard, we will identify entry points for collaboration in committee activities. This will form the basis for a more structured engagement model. Feedback mechanisms to committees and stakeholders and citizens engaged by committees through oversight hearings and oral or written submissions will also be considered. We will also introduce post-legislative scrutiny, Chair, which will enable an evidence-based assessment of the impact of the legislation that we pass in this Parliament. Honourable Chair, under Programme 3, Public Engagement, the budget of 17.779 million Rand in the 2025-2026 financial year contributes in the main towards programs which respond to the priority of involving and expanding citizen services and experiences of the people of the Western Cape. Chair, digital access has the potential to accelerate public involvement through various platforms. On the other hand, it has the potential to deepen existing inequalities arising from citizens' inequitable access to digital communication services. Chair, through a revised communication strategy, communication channels for the internal and external communication will be enhanced to ensure greater and more meaningful public engagement. We will strategically deploy digital tools and platforms. We will be expanding the use of social media channels to increase reach, stimulate engagement and the public involvement to the work of the WCPP. We will develop a new website incorporating an interactive online digital platform. 200,000 Rand is allocated for this purpose in the 2025-2026 financial year, with an increase to 1.7 million Rand, Chair, in the 26-27 financial year. We will also refine our e-petitions process and continue to provide reverse billing functionality, which enable public access to the website at no cost to the user. Honourable Chair, 924,000 Rand goes to public education and outreach programs in the 2025-2026 financial year. We will implement a revised public participation framework that is even more effective at leveraging stakeholder and civil society participation in the legislative process. Our public education programs will be revisited to ensure that they empower citizens, Chair, with knowledge about the business of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament and how to participate in its processes. We will partner with civil society and other organs of state to further expand the reach and impact of our public engagement programs across the province. Honourable Chair, under Programme 4, Member Support, the budget of 67.476 million Rand in the 2025-2026 financial year contributes towards the strategic priority of supporting legislatures. Honourable Chair, Parliament that is effective in oversight, lawmaking and public involvement is better positioned to serve and protect the rights of the people of the Western Cape and ultimately, Chair, to deepen democracy in the Western Cape. The Western Cape Provincial Parliament will prioritize support to its members. 6.8 million Rand is allocated to members enabling allowance in 2025-2026, increasing to 7 million Rand and 7.3 million Rand in years 2 and 3 of the MTEF. These allowances, Chair, ensures that members are supported in carrying out their functions as legislatures. Honourable Chair, secretarial and constituency allowances receive 57.7 million Rand in the 2025-2026 financial year, increasing to 60.2 million Rand and 62.8 million Rand in the outer years. Honourable Chair, these are key budget allocations which we will use to advance our priorities. Honourable Chair, I'm under no illusion that we face a number of challenges. We remain committed to the opportunities presented to us to be a leading parliament in line with our vision for the 7th Parliament. Honourable Chair, in conclusion, in administering this budget, we will strive to maintain the clean audit outcomes we have sustained over the 11 consecutive years. Furthermore, we shall keep our focus on our vision for the 7th Parliament to deepen democracy in the Western Cape. I thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. I now recognize Honorable Barnes, the Chief Whip of the Opposition Party.
Ndiyabulela Sihlalo. Honorable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition, Khalid Sayed. As the ANC celebrates the Heroes Month, allow me to quote our former President of the African National Congress, our General O.R. Tambo, when he said, I quote, "Comrades, you might think that it is very difficult to wage a liberation struggle. Wait until you are in power. I might be dead by then. At that stage, you will realize that it's actually more difficult to keep the power than to wage a liberation war. People will be expecting a lot of services from you. You will have to satisfy various demands of masses of people. In the process, be prepared to learn from other revolutions. Learn from the enemy also. The enemy is not necessarily doing everything wrong. You may take his right tactics and use them to your advantage. At the same time, avoid repeating the enemy's mistakes, close quote. It is not often, Sihlalo, that the ANC finds itself in agreement with the DA on many matters. But in vote 2, we must acknowledge that the DA made an exceptional choice in its leadership of the legislature. Both the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker are young, dynamic, professionals who bring energy, integrity, and spirit of cooperation to their roles. Whilst we continue constructively to criticize them and scrutinize as an effective opposition, they are individuals we respect and work well with, and their commitment to their duties is beyond question, but just for now. It looks like young blood has appetite to pay attention as I was sitting and listening, and they listen. It's some skill that they really need to transfer to their eldership. Hlalo, in the committee meeting, the speaker responded to our questions by stating that he would deliver a people's-driven budget. As the ANC, we will closely monitor this people-driven budget to assess whether it reflects the demographics of the Western Cape. We have experienced unequal benefits as members of this House, especially those of us residing far from Cape Town. Our constituencies were deprived of the opportunity to visit Parliament due to distance, with the excuse that it was not viable to bring communities from far-flung areas to this House. Kanti, in which province are we, Hlalo? Do people of Mossel Bay, Merivale, and Vredendal not reside in the Western Cape? We must also concede that this budget includes some commendable policy choices, particularly in procedural efficiencies and member support that will benefit all parties and enable us to perform our oversight and legislative duties more effectively. I do think that this is what President General O.R. Tambo meant when he said, I quote, "The enemy is not necessarily doing everything wrong," close quote. However, Speaker, beyond these few positives, there is little else in the budget that deserves praise. The shortcomings are severe, ranging from chronic underfunding of critical functions such as standing committees and institutional enablement, to such as standing committees and institutional enablement, to reckless spending on unconstitutional vanity projects that the ANC cannot in good consciousness support. While we stand here debating this budget, Hlalo, the fourth floor of this very building is struggling to connect to Wi-Fi. Staff members cannot print documents because the network points that were removed during renovations of public works contractors at the end of the 6 administrations are not yet restored. This is not a minor inconvenience. It is a systematic failure. How can we claim to be modern, efficient legislatures when basic infrastructures fail us daily? Speaking of basic infrastructures, Chair, it is uncalled for that members struggle even to access or leave parliamentary premises while they are coming to perform their duties late or early in the morning. It is totally unacceptable. Day in and day out, we must respond to members that are stranded to enter our buildings. The budget before us does not allocate sufficient funds to rectify these issues. Instead, it continues to prioritize superficial advancements over fundamental operational needs. The Financial Management of Parliament and Provincial Legislators Act mandates that we maintain robust systems for accountability and service delivery, yet we are failing even for basic IT functionality. We cannot ensure that our own offices are functional. How can we claim effectively serve the people of the Western Cape? There was a time, Chair, when members of this legislature could submit the written questions every week. Written questions are a critical tool of holding the executive accountable. Yet, due to severe staff shortages, a problem has persisted for years. This was reduced just twice a month. This is not just an administrative issue. It is a direct attack on our constitutional duty to conduct oversight. The budget confirms that there are no plans to hire additional staff, despite their clear need. Dedicated professionals like the Senior Procedural Officer, Ms. Simon, that are stretched to their limits, resulting in reduced capacity for members to hold the executive to account. Our oversight duties cannot be held hostage by a refusal to allocate the necessary resources. It is the budget truly cared. If the budget truly cared about accountability, Chair, it would provide for the hiring of additional staff to restore weekly questions, submissions, and other critical oversight mechanisms. Hlalo, the DA's exceptionalism has left us with smallest legislature in the country. Despite the Western Cape being the third largest province by population, this is not just a matter of numbers. It is a matter of democratic representation. The DA's refusal to increase the number of seats means that we cannot adequately serve every citizen in this province. The budget before us allocates a mere 211 million for entire legislature, a paltry sum compared to the needs growing in this growing province. Other provinces receive significantly more funding relative to their size. The ANC is clear, Chair, that the number of seats must increase to match our population growth. A larger legislature would also mean a larger budget, allowing us to restore weekly question submissions, expand committee work, and ensure proper oversight. Yet this budget makes no provision for such expansion. It is unacceptable, Chair, that this legislature continues to waste public funds on frivolous bills championed by the DA. Despite not having enough money to hire more staff, we wasted taxpayers' money on unconstitutional bill, and now we are doing the same with the Western Cape Monitoring and Support Municipalities Amendment Bill, which seeks to grant MEC Bradell powers he does not legally possess. The budget shows no accountability for this wasteful expenditure. There is no transparency on how much has been spent or will be spent on these doomed legislative projects. Meanwhile, we see, Chair, that the decreased allocations for goods and services as well as institutional enablement directly impacting our ability to function effectively. Why are we cutting essential services while pouring money into unconstitutional vanity projects? While we commend the Speaker for taking state of the province to the Beaufort West, where the business community benefited, we must ask, where are the benefits for the people? What is being done to address the pressing challenges, unemployment, poverty, and service delivery failures that were identified during our visit? I'm happy Member Seleku said something about it. The reports of such cluster visit must fully be implemented, not selectively, and we must stand united as members of this committee to ensure that we hold executive accountable. We note, Chair, that the concerns that cuts the critical programs like bursaries, a move that directly harms opportunities for our dedicated staffs. While there is an increase in consultant fees, why are we slashing education funding while outsourcing work to expensive consultants? Where is the detailed list of these consultants as requested in the documents, Chair? The budget reveals a pattern of mismanagement and misplaced priorities. We see reductions in goods and services at capital assets, institutional enablement, all critical to the functioning of this legislature. There is an unjustified increase on spending of consultants. This is not a clear justification. The budget confirms that there are no plans to hire additional staff, despite overwhelming need. The so-called direct charge against the Provincial Revenue Fund remains unexplained, raising serious concern of accountability, Chair. These financial decisions are indefensible. They show a legislature that prioritizes political projects over service delivery, vanity over accountability, and austerity over growth. The ANC calls for more resources to hire additional staff to alleviate the burden on the overworked employees and restore weekly question submissions. We demand that the internet work points be fixed, particularly on the 4th floor, to ensure that basic office functions can be performed without hindrance. The number of seats in the legislature must increase to better represent the growing population of the Western Cape. We insist that legislature cease wasting public funds on unconstitutional bills that puts money to waste and focus on legislation that truly serves the people. Finally, Chair, we require a detailed plan to address the service delivery challenges identified by the SOPA and Beaufort West and surrounding areas. The ANC cannot support a budget that fails to address these critical issues. The budget breakdown proves this budget is not just inadequate, but reckless. It cuts essential services while funding wasteful projects, ignores shortage of staffs while increasing consultant fees, and refuses to expand representation despite the growing needs. For these reasons, Chair, the ANC's position is very clear. We are rejecting this budget, and we will be rejecting it up until we see the performance as stated out by the Speaker when he said that it is going to be people's driven. We will be following and we will be monitoring. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now recognize Honorable Petrus from the Patriotic Alliance on the virtual platform. Honorable Petrus.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I greet you, the people of the Western Cape. Speaker, in your executive authority statement, you mentioned the following, and I quote, "The delivery on our core mandate of lawmaking, oversight of the executive, and public participation in our operations remains at the center of what we as an institution do." Close quote. We call on you to ask the executive to release the report on the George building collapse as it is of national public interest. We do not want to go into the merits of the case, but demand the immediate release of the report to the Western Cape Parliament. Speaker, we support your efforts to make Parliament more accessible to the people. Ons glo dat meer geld beskikbaar gestel moet word vir openbare deelname, sodat die stem van ons mense gehoor kan word. Die Wes-Kaapse regering het 'n verantwoordelikheid om meer te belê in sy werknemers en strukture om dienslewering te verbeter. As ons nie die middele het nie, kan ons nie effektief regeer nie. We also need more resources and funding to strengthen our communication systems and relationships with municipalities. Speaker, our people in the province deserve the best services, and the Patriotic Alliance will support the allocation of more funding to achieve it. We support this budget bill.
Thank you, Honorable Petrus. I now recognize Honorable Kasim of the EFF, also from the virtual platform.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, in the past, we have seen rapists, abusers, and others who pose a threat to staff and members walk into legislatures across the country, intimidating and scaring, especially female staff members, despite them having restraining and protection orders against them. Security needs to be increased, Chairperson, on the premises where an identification process needs to be put in place upon entering, and this would include for all service providers, guests, to any member of the public, to ensure the safety of all those working within the building, similar to what National Parliament has, Chairperson, and especially against those who pose a threat to those working within the legislature, because when a member or staff member reports to the legislature on such cases, the system should immediately be able to pick that up. Speaker, Chairperson, more money needs to be spent on taking Parliament and public hearings to those who need it the most, like that of residents in African and coloured townships and informal settlements, instead of leafy suburbs, where at most times the poor are not able to attend these public hearings unless legislature sends a taxi or tour for transportation. Chairperson, furthermore, what's concerning when it comes to provincial parliament is the fact that there's a very slow pace when it comes to the rendering of maintenance to its existing infrastructure, and the inconvenience it has for those who carry out their daily duties in the building is increasing. Chairperson, as an example, it took this legislature way too long to service the bathrooms on the 4th floor, which are utilized for parties like the EFF, the ACDP, and the Good Party, because the reality is, Chairperson, that these late upgrades created a lot of inconvenience for staff members. Chairperson, another concern is the fact that it takes long for officers to get supplied with the necessary furniture or equipment after a call has been lodged. As you speak, Chairperson, since the previous term, our office aircon does not work. Our member's office door continues to be locked from the beginning of the new administration and cannot be used by the member, while at the same time, our office are not being serviced by the cleaning company unless we go out and call them to do so, among other issues. So in conclusion, while these are some of the issues I feel needs to be addressed, and a call for efficiency when it comes to maintenance.
Honorable Member.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Kasim. I now recognize Honorable Bosman from the DA.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and good afternoon to you and the esteemed members of the Provincial Parliament. Today I rise in strong support of Vote 2, the allocation for our Provincial Parliament for the 2025-2026 financial year. This budget demonstrates the Democratic Alliance's unwavering commitment to a strengthened, transparent, and effective legislature that lies at the heart of our democratic project in the Western Cape. The proposed appropriation of just over 211 million for the 25-26 financial year represents a crucial investment in an institution that holds the executive accountable, crafts the laws that govern our province, and ensures the voices of our citizens are heard. We note with satisfaction the 4.26% increase from the revised estimate of the previous financial year, a clear indication of the growing importance and demands placed upon this body. The indicative allocations of 213 million for the 26-27 financial year and 219 million for the 27-28 financial year provide a stable outlook for the medium term, allowing for strategic planning and consistent execution of our parliamentary duties. It is important to remember that these outer year figures are indicative and subject to future appropriations by this House. This budget, Honourable House Chairperson, directly supports the core functions and responsibilities of the Provincial Parliament. These include providing procedural and related support for effective lawmaking and oversight, as well as ensuring corporate support to members and staff. It enables the promotion of optimal public participation in our parliamentary processes and fosters sound administration to ensure organizational efficiency. The Democratic Alliance welcomes the key focus areas outlined in the coming financial year, which align with our vision of a modern and accessible parliament. We strongly endorse the continued provision of procedural and related support for lawmaking and effective oversight, as this is the bedrock of our representative democracy. The commitment to promoting public participation in parliamentary processes, including leveraging digital platforms, is essential for ensuring the work of this House is truly citizen-centric. Ensuring enabling facilities and financial support for members and political parties is vital for all elected representatives to effectively fulfill their constitutional obligations. This will be continually reviewed to ensure our resources are appropriately used. Honourable Chairperson, I want to draw the attention of the House, and especially those on the opposite benches, to the rules of this House that says that political parties are allocated a secretarial allowance to make provision for internet access for their operations in this building. I hope my colleague opposite me will look at that allowance and allocate some money for internet for the African National Congress. The planned implementation of appropriate digital platforms for business system integration and improved accessibility will enhance the efficiency and transparency of our operations. Investing in cybersecurity capabilities and digital skills is a prudent measure in today's digital age to safeguard the integrity of our system as well as the information. The IT modernization project by the Speaker includes upgrades to our chamber, our committee rooms, the auditorium and the library, and this will provide members and staff with the necessary modern tools to perform their duties effectively. We are particularly encouraged by the development of an artificial intelligence framework and the implementation plan that goes with it. This has the potential to further enhance our research capabilities and our administrative processes. This budget also underpins the Provincial Parliament's commitment to its 5-year strategic plan, commencing in the 25-26 year. This aims to contribute to deepened democracy in the Western Cape. The back-to-basics approach that the Speaker spoke about underpins this plan to serve as the guiding principles for all our endeavours in this Parliament. Honourable Chairperson, I think we need to be really honest when we talk about money allocated for consultants, because I've checked. Page 82 of the Blue Book allocates 80,000 Rand in this financial year for consultants and advisory services. And I encourage honourable members to go look at some of the other legislatures in this country and see how many millions are budgeted for consultants. Because in this province, we've got capable staff that deliver excellent service, operate efficiently, and ensure that all members are adequately supported. Honourable Speaker, I want to extend my heartfelt thank you to all the members of this committee who make sure that we hold the executive to account and that Parliament runs efficiently. But a very special thanks goes to all the staff members at our Provincial Parliament who work day and night, whether in this building or on the road, to make sure that members are capacitated, that citizens are able to participate, and that this legislature continues to be the best run Parliament in South Africa. A special thank you goes to our procedural officer in this committee, Ms. Wasima Kamish Ahmad, who ensures that members are provided with the correct information, have up-to-date information of when we meet, and that our meetings run as efficiently as possible. Honourable Speaker, in conclusion, the Democratic Alliance believes that this budget allocation for our Provincial Parliament is a responsible and strategic investment. It provides the necessary resources to ensure that this institution can effectively carry out its constitutional mandate, deepen our democracy, and serve the people of the Western Cape with diligence and integrity. We urge all members to support this vote because it is our parliament that we are investing in and not a political party's parliament. So I do encourage my colleague opposite to really review what's in this blue book and perhaps change her mind, because I know secretly she does not believe what she delivered. With that said, the Democratic Alliance supports the vote.
Thank you, Honorable Bosman. I now recognize the Speaker.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you very much for all the comments and inputs made during this budget. Chair, I want to start with the Chief Whip of the Opposition. Thank you very much for the kind words, for your support. Because as the Chief Whip has absolutely correctly highlighted, this is not a political party. This is all our parliaments. Parliament belongs to all 9 political parties represented here, representing the citizens. But I want to open the quote and I want to say, Honorable Barnes, sometimes one needs to learn from the enemy also, close quote. Chair, I want to start with the questions. If you go to the standing rules, Chair, on page 68, the publication of questions. Chairperson, under Rule 195, subsection 1, dictates our questions, whether it's written, oral, questions are being submitted or processed in Parliament. So we are absolutely following the standing rule. It's not a decision of an individual when we decide to publish a question paper. It is my view, Chair, that I mean I'm a stickler for rules, and as you would know, and executing standing rules as adopted by this House, by every single member at the first sitting of this Parliament. We adopted these rules. It dictates how questions are being published. With that being said, Chair, there is a process underway where we are reviewing the standing rules, and political parties have had previous opportunities to make inputs to the amendments of standing rules, because we learn every day that the House is in session. Some new potential amendment to a rule could be proposed, and we are busy with that process. But again, it's not a speaker decision or a administrative decision. It's the decision of all 9 political parties. And some political parties, in fact, Chair, has already made some inputs to that process. Chair, then I want to go to the Honourable Barnes raised infrastructure issues on the 4th floor, which I take very, very seriously. And I was informed that the Wi-Fi issue on Thursday was as a result of a faulty power plug and not the actual infrastructure. So that was dealt with at that point. But I have also asked that the administration just engages the Chief Whip, so that if there's any other infrastructure issues on the 4th floor, that we can deal with it. But that was the issue with regards to Wi-Fi. Chair, then with regards to the increase in training, if the member refers to page 79 in the Blue Book, Chair, there's in fact an increase for training and development allocated in this budget. So there's no decrease. There's an actual fact a 22% increase, and that can be found on page 79 of the Blue Book. Then, Chair, there's an increase in direct charges that the member has raised, and I think it's prudent and it's important for me to respond to that, because I think I did respond to it in the standing committee. But let me explain. Direct charges, Chair, is an increase of members of Parliament salaries. So that is direct charges against the revenue fund that pays the salaries of members of Parliament. So because members of Parliament are anticipated to have a salary adjustment, there will be an increase as part of the direct revenue fund. So the direct charges is nothing to do with the administration. It's actually directly salaries of members of Parliament. With regards to the seats, I don't really want to get into the details of the seats because that the bill and the process of the bill is actually in front of a standing committee, and it would be wrong of me to have an opinion about the process before it is actually tabled for the House for a decision. But I wish to remind all members of the House, in order to change or to amend the provincial constitution, the House needs a 2/3 majority. So whichever way the committee decides, it's a 2/3 majority, and that process has also been explained in the Standing Committee of Premier and Constitutional Matters, where there's a whole breakdown of how much it's going to cost, possible alterations of the various amount of seats that potentially could increase, and what the provincial parliament has done thus far. Then, Chair, with regards to the which I absolutely agree with Member Barnes, is the accessibility of Parliament, the actual Parliament, to the rural parts of this province. It can never be, and while we are working within a fiscal environment, that we cannot open Parliament to the citizens of this province, whether somebody comes from Murraysburg or whether a person comes from where Honourable Boyson is from, or whether the person or the citizen is in Cape Town or Lutzville. The reality is that Parliament must be accessible, and within the confines of our budget, we need to try and facilitate that. I do know that the Public Education and Outreach Unit has on numerous occasions extended the invitation to members to please inform the unit to facilitate that kind of engagement. We might not be able to do 3 and 4 in a constituency, but we really do try and make sure that it is equally spread across the province and that we make it as accessible as possible. With regards to, Chair, with regards to Honourable Petrus, I take note of your comment with regards to the report. I don't want to venture into the details with regards to the George report, if I can call it that. But the understanding that I have is that it is the Premier has handed it over. The Premier and Minister Simmers has handed it over to the South African Police Services that's busy with a full investigation. I will make a commitment to see if that is if Parliament is able to obtain a copy, and then I will revert back to the honourable member. Chair, before I get to the chairperson of the Standing Committee, what Honourable Kasim has raised about the security, and I think Honourable Barnes has also raised the security issues, is something that I take very, very seriously. It can never be that firstly members, staff, and the building, and as the infrastructure is not protected in inverted commas and made sure that the relevant or the necessary the security measures are put in place. So I know that from an administration perspective, we have placed an enormous value on that, and that's why things like the way that you access and gain access to the building has been addressed. If there's still further security risk and issues and concerns, to please feel free to write to me so that we can take it up. And then, Chair, lastly, to the chairperson, thank you very much to Honourable Bosman for your comments and for the support of the vote. But also thank you very much for the manner in which the Standing Committee, and not just you, but the entire Standing Committee engages WCPP. And I'm always mindful that it must be difficult for members to have oversight over the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, where you are directly a beneficiary of these services. So I'm very mindful of that, and thank you very much for the manner in which you conduct that oversight and provide that platform to the members of the committee. Chair, it would be remiss of me not to, at this point, use the opportunity to say thank you to a few people. Firstly, Chair, I think Let me start with the members of Parliament. Colleagues, thank you very much for the support that you have provided. Thank you very much for the manner in which we can engage. Thank you for at times knowing that actually, but this is our Parliament. Thank you for fighting for the credibility and reputational image of this institution as hard as what I'm fighting every single day. Thank you for making it personal. I really do appreciate it. And Chair, not too long ago, we've had that engagement. And thank you very much for the manner in which you also fight for the credibility of this institution. And I appreciate that because it's not a speaker parliament, it's our parliament. And if parliament fails, all of us fail. Chair, and then to the Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, thank you very much for your support over the last couple of months. I know that it's been a new transition, but thank you for your unwavering support to make sure that we make Parliament work. Then to the Secretary, I think the acting secretary is here and the previous secretaries in the gallery. Thank you very much for the support, Mr. Adams, over this past year and for getting us to this point. I think it's also just important for the record to state that that Mr. Adams's contract with the WCPP naturally concluded on the 31st of March, and we have embarked on a recruitment and selection process, which was a multi-party panel, and that process is not concluded yet, and that's why we have an acting secretary in the form of Ms. Goldstone. So thank you to the acting secretary, to you and the senior management team for the work that has gone into making sure that today happened in the last couple of days. And thank you very much for your daily support to make sure that we can make Parliament continue to function. Chair, then to every single member of staff of WCPP, thank you, thank you, thank you. We engage on various different levels, various different needs, but thank you very much for the support to not only myself, but also to every single member of the WCPP. You are truly valued and truly appreciate the efforts that you do on a daily basis. Then, Chair, to the team in my office, to Lorika and the team, bye-bye, dankie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And lastly, Chair, this is a very emotional thank you. But to my mother that's watching online, bye, dankie. I don't want to get into the details because that I'll say to her tonight. I don't think it's necessary to be broadcast, but baie dankie vir die gebede, vir die onderskraging and daily motivation. Baie dankie.
That concludes the debate on this vote. The House will now suspend for 2 minutes to allow the guest of the Speaker to leave the officials' bay.
Order, members. The Secretary will read the 7th order of the day.
Consideration of votes in schedules, Western Cape Appropriation Bill.
I have to announce that there are currently 38 honourable members present and entitled to vote, and the House is therefore quorate. Parties now have an opportunity to make a declaration covering all the votes. I will now afford parties an opportunity to make a declaration if they so wish. I recognise the ANC.
Nkosi Somlong, the African National Congress stands before this House to firmly reject the 2025-26 provincial budget. While the budget has been increased to 89.3 billion, comprising 65 billion from the equitable share and 16 billion in conditional grants, the expenditure will not translate to meaningful change for the majority of the people of the Western Cape. It is the height of hypocrisy for the Democratic Alliance to reject a national budget under the pretext of defending the poor, a new term that they've adopted, while in this province, they eagerly pass a budget that entrenches existing inequalities. The DA-led government has once again demonstrated its disregard for the plight of the poor and working class. Anyway, this DA is not so democratic after all, but a spin, as the very MEC of Finance left an unfinished mandate to develop a procedure to amend money bills here in this, as mandated by this House, to rather leave democracy in this House on the arrogance of numbers as a majority party, while they cry foul on losing in a democratic process of the national budget, something they inflict on us in this House as a democratic process that we all accept as Democrats. We welcome the increased allocations from the national government, but we are not convinced that these funds will be optimally used to improve the living conditions of our people. Winter is approaching, and yet there is no urgency or provision in this budget to address the dire conditions in informal settlements, where families brace themselves for floods and are forced to seek shelter in local halls. However, when disasters affect farmers and agribusiness, the government suddenly finds the will and resources to act swiftly with their friends from the private sector. This selective response speaks volume. We also are asking here in this House for money to be reprioritized for the SMME Booster Fund. Despite receiving an increased budget, including allocations for the cost of living wage agreements, the DA is still pushing forward with its disastrous plan to cut teacher posts for the 2025 academic year. This will have a devastating impact on the quality of education, particularly for children from poor communities. The so-called growth for jobs strategy embedded in this budget will not resolve the province's deepening crisis of unprotected jobs. With 797,000 unemployed people and an additional 1.5 million economically inactive individuals, this budget offers no real solution, only more profits for the DA's private sector allies with no tangible benefits for the people. Furthermore, this budget exposes the DA's twisted priorities. The province faces a growing crisis of crime and violence, yet the budget for police oversight and community safety has been decreased. Instead, we're told that a conference of extortion is what is a response of this government for people who are dying under protection fees daily in the townships. Meanwhile, the Premier's department receives over 2 billion, while
Honourable
safety gets
Nkondlo, your time has
750
expired, but I'm
million.
going to allow
How
you to,
does this government
to
justify such misaligned priorities? We don't.
Thank you, Honourable Nkondlo. I recognise the PA.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, we raised our concerns during the budget process. It's on record, but we as the Patriotic Alliance support.
Thank you very much. I recognise the EFF.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the EFF has no declaration, but for record purposes, we are not in support of the budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The NCC. The Freedom Front Plus.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the Freedom Front Plus does not support vote 1, vote 10, and vote 5. We believe that in terms of vote 1, we are not convinced that the Premier has made sufficient explanation for the unforeseen circumstances funds set aside. In terms of vote 10, Minister Simmer's refusal to answer my question, and he has made me simmer with anger. In terms of vote 5, the Education Minister, we are not happy with the response and no answers in terms of our constituency. Thank you.
Thank you very much, order members. Al-Jamar, the ACDP.
Speaker, the ACDP supports the budget. Although we're going through difficult times financially and we don't know the full impact of the US on the country, I think the MEC of Finance and the departments are doing well to cater for our people. I want to say that sitting on the Education Department, ACDP is very pleased that we will move forward with education in the Western Cape, and we believe that the budget, you can only do with so much you get. You can only do so much. So I think this budget will serve the people in the Western Cape. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Good.
Speaker, thank you. The 2025 Western Cape budget has misguided priorities. The budget underfunds education, overspends on ineffective policing, allows a healthcare crisis to deepen, and invites private interests into public infrastructure without transparency. We do not support the budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now recognize the Democratic Alliance.
Honourable Speaker, it is my honour to rise in support of the Western Cape main budget for 2025-26 financial year. This is a budget that places the people of the province at its heart. While the uncertainty reigns abroad and at home, this budget is proof that the Western Cape is stepping up to fill that void. We are putting forward a plan that is clear, focused, and most importantly, a plan for everyone. Approximately 80% of this budget is directed towards social services because we know that dignity starts with access to quality education, healthcare, and social services. Over the medium-term expenditure framework, more than 215 billion will be invested in frontline services that uplifts our residents, protect the most vulnerable, and build a better future. We are investing in our children with a 101 billion for education, supporting infrastructure upgrades, early childhood development, and hiring additional teachers to manage growing enrollment. We are strengthening our healthcare system with 100 billion over the MTEF, ensuring that our facilities remain stocked, our staff supported, and our communities cared for. Honourable Speaker, as mentioned in my budget speech last Thursday, this is a budget for the entire province. With 8.4 billion allocated to social development, 31 billion for infrastructure and targeted investments to unlock economic growth, we are protecting communities, correcting past injustices, and encouraging the engines of growth. By creating an environment where opportunity can grow, where jobs can be created, and where dignity is foremost, we are building a better province, a better future, and a better life for all who call the Western Cape home. To every resident, from the entrepreneur in Kailicha to the farmer in Beaufort West, this budget is for you. That is why the Democratic Alliance supports this budget, because in the Western Cape, we believe in a government that shows up, steps up, and delivers. A government for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Johnson. Honourable members, that concludes the declaration on the consideration of the votes and the schedule of the bill. Are there any objections to the votes 1 to 14 and the schedule of the Western Cape Appropriation Bill? There is an objection. All those in favour of the votes and the schedule of the Western Cape Appropriation Bill being adopted, please say yes.
Yes.
Those not in favor of the votes and the schedule of the Western Cape Appropriation Bill being adopted, please say no.
No.
I think the ayes have it. The votes and the order, members. Order. I think the ayes have it. Votes and the schedule of the Western Cape Appropriation Bill has therefore been adopted. The Secretary will read the 8th order of the day.
Finalization of the Western Cape Appropriation Bill.
Thank you very much. I recognize the Honourable Minister of Finance.
Goeiemiddag Speaker. Ek versoek hiermee die finalisering van die Wes-Kaapse begrotingswetsontwerp wet 2 van 2025.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. There being no list of speakers, are there any objections to the bill, clauses and short title being finalised? No objections. Agreed to. The finalisation, including clauses and the short title of the Western Cape Appropriation Bill, B2 of 2025, are therefore approved. The Secretary will read the bill.
Western Cape Appropriation Bill.
The bill will be sent to the Premier for assent. Honourable members, that concludes the business for the day. The Secretary will now end the meeting and all members will be exited from the sitting. The House is adjourned.